Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Huh? Maybe it's up to you. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I forgot Russell in the poll, Stuart. I know. I just got a feeling Russell's going to fall off. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that, guys. We'll get to that. But hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Oh. Sorry I pushed the start of the stream back. It's been a little bit ropey this morning. So, but we're all good now. We're all good. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll jump straight into our strategy options for today and have a look at what we can expect. So it is indeed going to be an interesting race, Echo. Welcome, buddy. Hey, Giuseppe. Good to see you. Jimmy, Mark. Doing schoolwork right now while watching. Well, hopefully we can make your schoolwork a little bit easier today with this watch-along. Of course, not long to go. 30 minutes until the race gets underway or the formation lap gets underway. Drivers are just doing their kind of installation laps, just making their way round to the grid right now. No issues to make note of in relation to offs and so forth. Dry conditions here at China. Sorry. A little bit of a spoiler alert for you guys if you're hoping for rain. We are indeed going to have our first dry race of the year, thankfully. So yeah, really looking forward to what's in store today at the Shanghai circuit. 10 out of 10 for commitment. Thank you, Butterfly. Thank you, thank you. Hey, Rod. Yes, welcome, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. Morning, morning. We'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll jump, straight into the strategy options and what we can expect from today's race. I've got some good news, though. It is some good news that it is... We could see more than one stop here today. We could see more than one stop. But, yeah, we'll get into it very shortly. Evening, Alan, evening. Yes, for those of you down under, it's evening for you. At least this is a bit more of a sociable time for us here in the UK. It feels like the last couple of weekends, all I've done is get up at 2:30 in the morning. So, yes, looking forward. Race day, you're so nervous. I hope all the rookies do okay. Yes, so a little bit of news, actually. Liam Lawson news. I know it's been spoken to death over the last day or so. He is starting from the pit lane, understandably. Qualified down in 20th, so why wouldn't you break Parc Fermé regulations and change something on the setup? But interestingly, they've put a new suspension in the car of... They've put new suspension in the car of that Red Bull. So, yeah, we'll see if that does anything to the handling. We know how difficult that car is to handle for him right now. So the car did look better to control. It did seem like he had more control of that Red Bull in the sprint race yesterday when it had a lot more fuel on board. So maybe a suspension change will also help with that. It should do. So yeah, hopefully he can have a decent one and make up a number of positions today. Morning, what? Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Doing very well. Shanghai is tough, probably a 2-stop. Yeah, we'll just give it a couple of minutes and then we'll head straight into... We'll change scene and we'll have a look at those strategy options for today. But I just want to say a big thank you to everyone filtering in right now. Wow, we've already nearly got 500 of you in here with just less than 20... just over 28 minutes remaining. So we'll just wait for a couple more of you to come in and then we'll have a look at those strategy options. Interestingly, so I did do the vote of who will win this race. You'll notice, unfortunately, I only have 4 options available, and I kind of wanted to include Lewis Hamilton in this, even though he's starting down in 5th, because we know how good he is on the tyres, and I have excluded George Russell, because I do think the Mercedes will just probably fall away, to be honest with you, over the whole race. I could have removed Verstappen, but Verstappen is always in an opportunity for winning races, you know that, but he's not very optimistic about today. He is struggling with that car as well. But unlike Liam Lawson, he's able to obviously get lap time out of it. And yeah, he's not very confident about his chances today. Think he's expecting the tyres to fall off like we saw in the sprint race. And yeah, that can make things difficult for the Red Bull team. You think I should win today? Well, if you continue to hit that like button, guys, if we can get to, I mean, if we could get to 30, I think we'll hit 37,000 today, subscribers. If we could get 38, that'd be a win for me today. That'd be absolutely amazing, and a great achievement. So, oh, of course, Mark. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing well. We had 5k viewers for the past two sessions, so that's good. The race, hopefully, I mean, we had over 10,000 viewers last week for the race, and which was amazing considering it was so early in the morning. So big thank you for everyone who tuned in last time around. But let's hope for a good one today, and let's start off by having a look at the strategy options. I've got the wrong graphic that is in front of me right here. Let's have a look at the strategy options for today, shall we? And see what we can potentially expect in this Chinese Grand Prix. Good news, everybody. It's looking like a two-stop race. Yes, yes. Oh, hallelujah, everyone. So, Pirelli, last week this graphic was completely useless because it was a wet race. But this week it is super important and super relevant because we see here that it is most definitely looking like a two-stop race. We have seen the blistering on the tyres. We saw what we saw in the sprint race. Pirelli did try and manage that. They raised the tyre pressures, I think, by 1 psi, only like by a marginal amount to try and cope with the blistering. But still, there is going to be degradation here on this newly relayed surface at Shanghai, which has caught Pirelli out. They were not prepared for it, and that's why they've had to make adjustments on the fly to try and mitigate that blistering. But we saw teams falling off in that sprint race on lower fuel loads, bearing in mind. The sprint race is a fraction of what the full race distance is, and we saw those on the medium tyre struggle. We saw a fall off quite dramatically. So the race tyre to start on will be the mediums. I very highly doubt anyone's going to be starting on the softs. We've seen that strategy not work in this current regulation set, starting on the softer compound tyre. That theory of having extra grip at the start of the race just doesn't really work anymore. And the tyre just, on full fuel loads, just completely dies too quickly. The hard compound tyre, though, is definitely the race tyre of choice. Now, what's interesting is no one has done any running on the hard compound tyre this weekend. No one. Hey, Transamerican, thank you for becoming a member of the pit crew. Apologies, I do have the alerts turned off. I normally have them turned off on these streams because it gets a little bit out of hand sometimes. Let me just have a look at that because I feel like a member always deserves a bit of noise. A nice alert. Thank you for joining the pit crew, buddy. And anyone else who'd like to support the channel, you can also hit that join button and become a member of the pit crew. It helps me out a lot. But yes, the hard compound tyre, which has been really interesting, we don't know what it's like. No one has done any running because we have one practice session here this week. No one has done any running on the hard compound tyre. So we have not a Scooby of how those tyres are going to work and perform. So yeah, it's going to make things interesting. That's for sure. So it could throw a complete spanner in the works to what we see in this race. One car may be particularly great on the medium, but then completely horrible on the hards, and vice versa. So we'll see. Lawson will most likely start on the hard compound tyre. Yep, you would want him to start on the hards. Go long, hope for a safety car, because we have seen safety cars here in the past. We'll have a look at the safety car percentage at the Shanghai circuit very shortly. But yes, let's have a look who's got what tyres available. But I think, yeah, it's a minimum 2-stop, barring any safety cars. Could it be a 3-stop? Potentially. So if we head to the tyre allocations, so who has what's available? Well, basically, as I mentioned, no one's done any running on the hard compound tyre, so everyone has 2 brand new sets of hards available to them, And everyone pretty much has a brand new set of mediums available to them as well. So no real outliers here in regards to strategy. Everyone's probably going to be utilising the same form of strategy. Will we potentially see the hard? I mean, this is the thing. They're going to have to use the hard at some point. It's what do they end the race on? Do they end the race on a hard or do they end the race on a medium? That's pretty much what it will be. And Lawson has, of course, starting from the back of the grid, has 2 sets of mediums available. Yeah. I think the medium hard is probably the stop of the strategy of choice, and I think that's what we're going to see. So 20 laps of medium on full load is seriously pushing it, in my opinion. Yeah, it is a long way. It is a long way, isn't it? I think we'll see. I think this is wrong, to be honest with you. I think we'll see this be brought forward, and I think we'll may even see I think this is more relevant here, to be honest, with the soft tyre. I think you need to move that lap 8 to 14 up here, from considering what we saw in the sprint race yesterday. So yeah, we could see pit stops, and especially with how we've seen the dirty air in the sprint race, it was a bit tricky to overtake, wasn't it? So maybe we'll see drivers decide to do the undercut, try and gain track position. We know how these regulation as the development of this regulation set has gone on, but the dirty air overtaking has become more and more difficult, and getting clean air is king. We saw that in the sprint race with Lewis Hamilton out front. We've seen it numerous times in the previous season where drivers, if they got clean air, they'd make up a handful of positions. 19 laps on 35% fuel was difficult. Exactly, Mark. Yeah, it really was. So, right. So that's that. That's the... I mean, yeah, the tyre allocations is basically a level playing field. The drivers can use what tyres they want. That's your strategy options for today. However, I think we're here. We here in this chat are in consensus that it's going to be a tall order for anyone to go 15, 20 laps on those mediums. So... yeah, we'll see. The only driver who may be able to do that is the one who's out front. But yes, important figures for you to remember, guys. 23.9 seconds, basically 24 seconds, is the pit stop loss time. That is the interval time that we are looking at for drivers, for whether or not, for the gaps for them to pit and where they'll come out ahead of the pack, or if they've got a free pit stop. Under safety car conditions, you can see there is an 8-second advantage, basically, by pitting under a safety car, whether it be a safety car or a VSC. So that is a considerable advantage. And, well, it's a very high percentage of previous deployments of the safety car. 75% of the last of races in the last 7 years. Of course, we missed out a few years, didn't we, because of COVID? But that is a high percentage, 75%. Free stops may be on the cards, Mr. D. Yes, it could be. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Pirelli haven't even suggested a free stop, but yeah, I think we could see a free stop. So we'll have to see. Max is definitely going hards first, then he'll see if they need more of it. They're already facing deg issues. Yeah, I mean, starting on the hard compound tyre is always risky these days, though, Vinay. Starting up front, we very rarely see drivers start on the hard compound tyre anymore, just because of that. So, yeah, but you can see they're fully dry conditions, 26-degree air temperature, which means we're probably going to see around track temperatures of what we've seen previously over the course of the weekend. So it's not like there's any anomalies in the weather. So yeah, the question really is how it's so important for George Russell or Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris or any of them to get out front and get clean air. So we may see the undercut being pulled by a number of drivers just to try and utilise that clean air if they get stuck in the dirty air and it is prevalent as what we saw in the sprint race. Would I suggest iRacing more or Assetto Corsa? You're new to sim racing. It depends, buddy. If you're new to sim racing, Assetto Corsa is a great place to start because it's very cheap and is a great sim still. It's great to just get involved and turn some laps. And then iRacing, if you want to take it a bit more seriously and you want some competitive online racing, then yeah, you can't beat iRacing. That Red Bull will need a 5-stopper. It's insane, that deg. I know. And I've said this about Max Verstappen is that while he's doing wonderful things with that car and you know how talented he is wringing the neck of that Red Bull right now and he can get a single lap out of it. But that single lap, the way that he's been having to drive that car and fight it in every single corner is just not feasible over a race distance. And we saw that yesterday in the sprint race. He was able to stay with Hamilton for a considerable amount of time, but then he just fell off a cliff. And he even was stating, like in Australia, in the intermediate tyres, he started to fall off as well, just until he had that moment. So yeah, the Red Bull at the moment is just not. It's a good good single lap car. It's an okay single lap car because let's be honest, it's behind the McLarens, and it is not a good race car right now. So. What happened to Hamilton in qualifying? He was excellent on sprint quali, but mid on yesterday's quali. Well, you say he was mid, Geraldine. So really, that Ferrari is where it really is in the pecking order in regards to pace. The McLarens probably should have been on pole on sprint quali. They had a potential to be about 3 tenths quicker. Charles Leclerc yesterday said, "Look, on the base of it, you look that it wasn't real. You look at that we're 3 tenths back, and it looks to be a poor qualifying. And yes, there is a bit more time for both me and Lewis to get out of the car. However, it's really whereabouts we are in the pecking order. We believe that we are about 3 tenths off over a single lap behind the McLarens. So Lewis was only, I think, a couple of hundredths behind his pole position in sprint quali. He said he'd made some changes to the car as well. So. Potentially, he said the car reacted a little bit differently. The wind direction changed yesterday from southwesterly to westerly, which is why the drivers got caught out a bit on their last run in the middle sector in particular. So, yeah, race pace wise, the Ferrari could be a lot stronger. But yeah, I think the Ferraris qualified where they were supposed to really yesterday. Someone said, "Hey Joaquin, don't you think that Tsunoda should stay longer in the second team instead of going to RB right now?" Yeah. I did. Obviously, I clipped a video, or I clipped some comments of me chatting about Lawson and Yuki yesterday, which people have seemed to really enjoyed. But yeah, I don't think there would be any difference right now if Yuki went into that car instead of Lawson. I don't see Yuki's driving style being like Max. You need a driver who loves the car completely on the nose, as sensitive as Max, and Yuki isn't that driver. Yuki doesn't drive that way. Lawson doesn't drive that way. So I think for Yuki, the best place for him right now is just to go. Obviously, if the opportunity presents itself, he'll back himself to go for that. However, I think he's doing more for his reputation and more for his value up and down the paddock right now by putting in his performances in that RB car and being the best of the rest, because he's without a seat for next year as it currently stands. So at this moment, no one else will be better than Lawson. Exactly. And I think we're going to leave it there because it's been spoken to death about the Liam Lawson. Look, he looked much better in that Red Bull car yesterday in the sprint race. He actually got punchy. He looked better on higher fuel in that Red Bull. So maybe that Red Bull for Lawson or for anyone who goes into it, it's just super difficult to control on light fuel loads, on quali mode, because that's when the car is going to be at its most sensitive. You chuck 100 kilos of fuel in the car, as we're going to today, then it's going to be a little bit more less sensitive than what maybe Lawson has been experiencing. So, hello. I have a special guest, guys, before we are about to set up the stream, set everything up. But that is basically our pre-race show right there, in relation to strategy options. So yeah, the highlights is that it is basically a 2-stop strategy. Could even be a 3-stop strategy. We will see. But if you just bear with me, give me a second. Just give me a second. Right. Got a special guest. I've got a co-host. Hello. In her F1. Say hello to everyone. Say hello. This is the Martin Brundle. of the stream. My co-commentator. In her F1 gear. Starting her early. Right, that's it. Mwah. Baby Stuffey. Just wanted to get her on stream with the kit, the overalls, pit reporter. Yeah. She's like, "What's going on? What's all this lights? What are all these lights?" No, thank you guys. Yeah. So when you were asking how is little one getting on, she's doing amazing. So yeah, the next RB second seat. Right, let's get set up, shall we? Let's get the data is ready. It is live. So let's get rock and rolling and prepped for this race. Don't emotionally scar recording Martin Brundle. She's, you know what I mean? She's like my Martin. She's my co-commentator. Do you know what I was watching actually? A bit interesting. I was watching a highlights of on YouTube. I was watching the 2011 Chinese Grand Prix with like the V10s and stuff, which was amazing. And it was really interesting to see that Martin Brundle was doing the main commentary, which I found a bit bizarre. I was like, when did he ever do the main commentary? Right, we could need a lot of this today. Could need a lot of that. Let's put that there. For God's sake. There we go. There we go. We're good. We're good. Ready to rock and roll, guys. Ready to rock and roll. Do I think Max can overtake 2 positions in the first 10 laps? He could do. Yeah. Whether he can hold on to them, though, is another question entirely. So, yeah. Can I show the strategy again for... Yes, I can show the strategy again. Of course I can. Or did I close it down? Did I close it down? I don't think I closed it down. So, yeah, if you just want to remind the guys of what the strategy options are, this is suggested by Pirelli. There you go. Oh, I think you can see that there. So 2 stoppers, basically medium to hard. I think that's really what's going to be the tyre, barring any safety cars. I think that's really what is going to be the strategy options, or the main strategy of choice. But I think we could potentially see maybe even a free stop, So it really depends on how big the drop off is. How quickly is that drop off? Oh, interesting. Risk of rain is 10%, apparently, is what they're stating there. That's intriguing. That's intriguing. Roy, welcome to the pit crew, buddy. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Guys, if you're enjoying the stream, as always, please continue to hit that like button. Let's replay that. Deserves an alert. Max good enough to take over 2 spots first lap. Of course he is, Stan. Of course he is. Yeah, he'll be aggressive at the start. Max will probably be as aggressive as he possibly can at the start because he's not got much faith in the car in race trim today. So, yeah, we will see. What's wrong with the poll? You can't get your vote in. You might have already accidentally voted, Kelvin. You might have already accidentally voted. I think the safety car will decide the strategy to a big degree. If we see it, Stuart, it most definitely will. Yeah. Max could fall back to last, just see what happens. I doubt it. I doubt it. But yeah, so if you're just tuning in, guys, the news really on the grid is that there has been no change. There's no penalties. No one's taken new parts other than Liam Lawson, who is down in 20th. He qualified 20th. He's starting from the pit lane because he has decided to change his suspension. Of course, looking to try and make that Red Bull car less of a handful for him to drive. As we've mentioned as well, that car did look better in its handling capabilities under more fuel load in a sprint race yesterday where Liam was able to make up 5 positions. He'll be hoping, of course, for a stronger showing in the race to at least take some positivity away from this weekend into Suzuka in a couple of weeks' time. A circuit that he is a lot more familiar at rather than 2 circuits where he's never raced at before. So Tyler, just wanted to say how much I enjoy your content. Originally found me through iRacing, and you've basically quit sim racing. You stay for your delivery and stuff like this. Thank you, Tyler. I was sorry to hear that you've quit sim racing. Hopefully you'll get back into it someday, mate. I'm the same. I go through moments and times where I'm like, I can't really be bothered. I'm a bit saturated with sim racing, and it's like I'll take a break from it and then I get that bug back again. So but yeah, on the channel, of course, I love F1, trying to bring you guys more F1 content, and yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying these streams even when I'm not doing the sim racing stuff. Morning, Andy, hope you're well, mate. That's just an example, mate. I'm not saying it will happen, of course. Surprising that most people will think Hamilton will win from 5th. I mean, I'm surprised it's overwhelmingly at the moment for Hamilton, 42% to Piastri, 31%. I think there is a possibility of Hamilton winning this race, purely because it's a race on... We're expecting a race of high deck. We're expecting a race of where you're going to need to manage your tyres. And because we have seen Lewis... We have a benchmark already. Although it was in clean air, we have a benchmark of Lewis showcasing that tyre management at this track in these conditions already, which was yesterday morning in the sprint race. So I can see why. I think a podium is what he'll be aiming for. I still think the McLarens will have enough. But they could trip over themselves, you know. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, will they be allowed to fight? I'm sure they will. George Russell isn't going to take anything lying down. I mean, it's a very good grid. It's a very good grid we've got here right now at the top 6. And just hopefully, yeah, I think it could be a race of attrition. So, joining all the way from Zambia. Amazing content and great commentary. Thank you, buddy. You clicked Hamilton without even thinking why. Your body just moved itself. Your arm just moved itself. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. What's my opinion on Hadjar's P7? Unbelievable performance from Hadjar, and so well deserved. So well deserved. Hopefully he can have a decent race. Yeah, so well deserved from Hadjar. The fact of it, of course, a lot of the plaudits, rightfully so, have gone to Yuki Tsunoda recently, and Yuki is doing a tremendous job. Made it through to Q3 every session. Had a 6th place in the sprint race yesterday as well, and held off Antonelli. He should have had more points, Yuki, of course, apart from that poor strategy call in Australia. But Hadjar to respond like that in P7 in his 2nd qualifying after what was a very... Well, 2nd qualifying this weekend, but like 2nd race weekend, he's really picked up from last week. What has been a massive low to start his F1 career. Hopefully he can convert it to points today. It'd be amazing. This is multi-viewer. What do I think? Hang on. What do I think Red Bull will do about Liam? Helmut was saying things about Hadjar, apparently. Imagine. I think it's all talk. You have to give Liam time. Because the thing is that they put another driver in there. They're going to be in the same situation. And there's going to be the same discussions again. And it's like, just give the boy time. You need to at least wait until the European swing. And get him around tracks he's familiar with. And see if he can improve. Also, I think what is maybe going in Liam's favour internally is that Max is also complaining about the car. He's also saying that the car is not good to drive. He's been asked about the RB, and he has said, look, I think that just shows how difficult this car is to drive at the moment. And has pretty much even been quoted as saying as like, Liam isn't a bad driver. So he's got a bit of support there from Max, which you don't normally get. So he understands his struggles. At least. 3 minutes, guys. 3 minutes. Countdown is on. Countdown is on. I always answer questions. Appreciate. Yeah, I always try and get through them, Will. It's all about interaction at the end of the day. Oh, yeah. Michael Massey replacement for Lawson. All right. Here we go. Okay, we are seeing tyre blankets off as we are about to head into our formation lap. And yes, as predicted, guys, everyone pretty much starting on the medium compound tyres. So no one in the top 12, no one in the top 13 starting on the medium. Interesting that Aston Martin have decided to split their strategy, as have the Haas team. So Lance Stroll is on the hard compound tyre. I think it's worth a shot, really, if you're Aston Martin, down in 13th and 14th. See what maybe it can present to you. Ollie Behrman on the hards, and Lawson, of course, as we predicted, rightfully so, starting on the hard compound tyre, try and go as long as possible and goal hang for a safety car, which there is a very high percentage that we will see here at the Shanghai circuit. 75% chance in the last 7 years that we have been at the Shanghai circuit. But yeah, the medium leaves you open to the two kind of real strategy options, which is the medium hard or the medium hard medium. Who knows, or the free stop, if that will be a choice. But yeah, those teams, no doubts, will be keeping a very keen eye on Lance Stroll, Ollie Behrman and Liam Lawson on that hard compound tyre, because no one has done any running on that this week. So please do my best on commentating. Of course, I always do. Wonder what Spanners will think if Piastri walks away with this. He's already in the WhatsApp chat. I'm in the WhatsApp chat, the Missed Apex, and he is very much like, I've never said Piastri is bad. I'm just going on past data, which I get. And this is an important race for Piastri. It is very much going to be a race of looking after the tyres, and he needs to. This is a race that will truly show, I think, if he leads out from up front, whether he's made any improvement on that front. Right, guys, 50 seconds until the formation lap gets underway. I'll just take a quick lube break, and then we are underway. I'm back. Right. Formation lap underway. Don't worry, I'll wash my hands. Right, guys. Right. Let's get rid of that, because the formation lap is underway. We are moments away from this Shanghai circuit. This Chinese Grand Prix race at the Shanghai circuit. Let's have a rundown of your grid for today. It is Oscar Piastri on pole position. His first ever pole position, official full pole position. Yes, he has had a sprint pole position before, but for the main race, it is his first on the McLaren. It's been the first time in a long time, actually, but he's out-qualified his teammate Lando Norris as well. So can he convert it? George Russell in P2. He has been quietly confident about his chances here this weekend and has been going about his business, currently third in the championship as well. What can he do in that Mercedes? Lando Norris in P3, looking for a much better performance today after the poor showing in the sprint race yesterday, picking up only a single point. Max Verstappen, P4. He's not too confident about his chances here in the race. We'll see how he copes in that very twitchy Red Bull. Lewis Hamilton, our sprint race winner yesterday in P5, and Charles Leclerc was close behind in P6. How are those Ferraris on their race pace? Isaac Hadjar, standout performer here in qualifying, really, for me, in P7. A great response after what happened in Australia. Antonelli in P8, quietly gaining that confidence in the Mercedes. Yuki Tsunoda once again in Q3, as is Alex Albon in P10. Esteban Ocon, the Haas seems to have a bit more pace here, but how will it fare today at the Shanghai circuit in P11? Nico Hulkenberg in P12, great qualifying for him in that Stake F1 car. Alonso and Stroll splitting their strategies today. Alonso on the medium and Stroll on the hards in 13th and 14th. Sainz, he needs a good performance. He has been well below par this week. weekend, and it's been a slow start to his career in Williams in 15th. Gasly in 16th. We saw him make up multiple positions yesterday in the sprint race, so maybe a better race car than a single lap car at the moment, the Alpine. Behrman in 17th, starting on the hards. Doohan in 18th on the mediums. Bortoleto in 19th, and Liam Lawson is starting from the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. So, we are moments away. They are lining up on the grid. We go again, guys. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. 4,000 of you in here at the moment. Thank you for joining as a member as well. Let's see what this race has in store for us, shall we? Moments away, moments away. Risk of rain, 10% apparently, but I don't believe it's even going to flirt here at the Shanghai circuit. We have a very high possibility of a safety car, of course. The first sector, we have seen cars go side by side multiple times through that twisty first, second, third, fourth corner, and of course down into turn 14 as well on full fuel and cold brakes. How will they fare? They are lining up. Bortoleto at the end of the pit lane. We are ready, I believe. It is. Lights are out and away we go. How will Oscar Piastri fare down into turn 1? Who is going to lead through this first sector? And it seems Oscar Piastri may have bogged down at the start here as Hulkenberg has already lost a position. Lando is up into P2 as it stands, but will he be able to stay alongside his teammate through this very tight second corner as Hamilton has gained a position, as has Charles Leclerc, as Max has lost an unlike him, 2 positions there down into P6. Antonelli's made a position up into P7 as well. Hulkenberg has got contact, I believe, as he is down in 17th place right now and falling to the back of the field. Nico Hulkenberg, something has happened to Nico Hulkenberg here, but it has made him drop 7 positions down into P19, almost behind Liam Lawson there. Did he have a spin? Has he had an off there? But it is Oscar Piastri from Lando Norris, from George Russell in P3. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have made a great start. There's a double yellow as Bortoleto spun. What has happened to Bortoleto? He's come to a standstill at a corner that is unlike what we've seen before, and there is a yellow flag there. Will he be able to get going again as I'm watching the race start? As Lando Norris made a great start around the outside of George Russell into the second corner. It was a great overtake by Lando Norris to secure that he had the inside on the turn 4 corner as they head down the back straight down to turn 14. Max Verstappen's very close behind Charles Leclerc here as George Russell is on Lando Norris as well. I'm yet to see what happened to Gabriel Bortoleto and to Nico Hulkenberg. But it is Piastri from Lando Norris. Will anyone be able to overtake here down into turn 14? And no, they will not be able to. DRS will be activated this time around, though. Only the single lap, but we have to wait for DRS to be activated. No longer is it the 2 laps. But yes, the biggest loser thus far is Nico Hulkenberg at the back of the grid behind Liam Lawson. Will he dive into the pit lane? No, but that Stake F1 car, something very wrong with that Stake F1 car as Nico Hulkenberg is behind everyone at the moment. Bortoleto is coming into the pit lane as well. Max Verstappen says Charles has a broken front wing, so a bit of contact, lots of contact at the moment at the front of the pack. What has happened there? Lots of contact. So Jack Doohan has lost a position to Ollie Behrman on the hard compound tyres, but at the moment it is Piastri from Lando Norris, from George Russell in P3. Hamilton is in P4 with Charles Leclerc in P5, being followed closely by Max Verstappen. And as it's being reported, Charles has some damage to his front wing, but is it only to the front wing end plate? We have seen really those parts fly off before and not have too much of a performance aspect. Not have too much of a performance aspect to these cars. Max Verstappen close behind Charles Leclerc with Antonelli in P7. A good start from him, launching past the Hadjar in the RB car, and Hadjar has lost a couple of positions and is now behind his teammate Tsunoda. Esteban Ocon is in P10. He snuck a position there ahead of Alex Albon. Carlos Sainz, interestingly, down in 15th, not able to make up any places. And Pierre Gasly, who does seem to like this Alpine in race trim, has made up 3 positions early on and is up into P13 while his teammate is in 17th. But Bortoleto's already gone onto the hard compound tyre. Watching the replay of Charles Leclerc here as they're about to complete their second lap here at the Shanghai circuit of what happened with his contact as he was going up the inside and actually made contact with Lewis. Oh my goodness, Charles Leclerc actually snuck his car into a place where into the apex at the third corner, and Lewis Hamilton of course couldn't see him in his blind spot, and wow, that was nearly I'm surprised Lewis Hamilton hasn't got a puncture right there. Unbelievable circumstances that could have happened. There is a double yellow flag in turn 8 and turn 9. Was that Bortoleto again going very slowly, or was that just, is there some gravel potentially on the surface there at turn 8 and turn 9? But wow, that is, yes, Charles Leclerc does indeed have damage to his front wing, but seems to be going okay right now. It is only front wing end plate damage that has happened to Charles Leclerc, so probably won't affect his performance too much, but that could have been very, very bad there at the start of the race for the two Ferraris. Hamilton, very fortunate not to have a right rear puncture, but as we are currently bedding into this race right now, we can see Bortoleto is way far behind. He has made a pit stop already onto the hard compound tyres. I'm still yet to see exactly what occurred with Nico Hülkenberg as to why he lost 7 positions, and yet to see a replay of that. But it is Piastri from Lando Norris. George Russell is in P3. He has got the DRS on Lando right now as Lando is losing it from his teammates. We will see how long these drivers are going to be able to stay within the dirty area and before they decide to drop back maybe into a safe window to ensure. As Leclerc is being reported, they have lost 20 to 30 points of loss on the front. If we can survive, we wait for the first stop. As Leclerc reports, we can survive. We can survive. I'm a survivor. Charles Leclerc is singing in his helmet right now. As George Russell, yes, in the DRS, unable to catch the McLaren right now as Lando did gain DRS back on Oscar Piastri. But Oscar Piastri, clean air is king. He was famously said back in Baku. And, well, he is making that use of that at the moment as he has got a 3-second gap back to Lewis Hamilton in P4. Lewis Hamilton already dropping back from George Russell in P3. As I mentioned, are we going to start to see teams and drivers decide to drop out? As the Fernando Alonso's got an issue. What has happened to Fernando Alonso? He's dropping to the back of the pack there. Has he had an off? Has he got a puncture? Has he got damage? What has happened to Fernando Alonso? Is he going to be overtaken by Nico Hülkenberg as well? I think he is. And Fernando Alonso has an issue. What has happened to Fernando? We have seen multiple car contacts already in the early stages of this race. Not even 4 laps completed. As brakes are on fire for Fernando Alonso. He is being reported that Alonso's brakes are on fire. Oh my goodness, what has happened to Fernando Alonso? Is it a brake failure? This is a circuit where you do not want to have a brake failure when you're going over 200 miles an hour down the back straight into the braking zone of turn 14. Yes, Fernando Alonso will have to be careful, but yes, I think this could be a retirement, unfortunately, for Fernando Alonso. It's very close between Hamilton and Leclerc there. Hamilton, a bit of a slow middle sector for him, 3 tenths off the pace of the front 3, and, well, Charles Leclerc had a mega middle sector. This is a PB for Charles Leclerc this time around, a 37.6 compared to Hamilton's 38.0. But is this maybe Leclerc taking a bit too much out of his tyres at this early stage? We will see. He is down on performance as Fernando Alonso is going very slowly, as he should do, down into turn 14. He'll be able to make this into the pit lane safely. I cannot brake, no brakes, and that is what Fernando Alonso is reporting. And, well, yeah, that is a fundamental part of racing, is having some brakes. So just watching the race restart here, the race replay, as George Russell actually got a very good start on Lando Norris, but he was so tight to the inside that he to Oscar Piastri, but he didn't have the speed to take around the first corner, which allowed Lando Norris to just swoop around the outside and gain that second position. So, yeah, George Russell just unfortunately taking the wrong decision there to go up the inside of Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri squeezed him as he should do, and, yeah, George just couldn't take that speed around the inside, which allowed Lando around the outside. Is Lewis Hamilton saving tyres? Potentially, yes, he could be. This is a race of attrition as George Russell is in the DRS of Lando right now, and George at this moment in time is staying very well with the McLarens. This is very close to Lando Norris in the braking zone into turn 14. Not enough to go through there, but just watching Lewis Hamilton on Max Verstappen, and, well, Max Verstappen interestingly made the wrong decision to go. Wow, Max Verstappen, very, very rare mistake from him into turn 1. And, oh my God, you can see the rear view camera of Lewis Hamilton where Charles Leclerc just went straight into him. And, yeah, that front wing is dropping a little bit lower on the left-hand side than it should be for Charles Leclerc. Lewis had no idea who he was hit by, but just watching the onboard of Max Verstappen right now, and Max Verstappen, he had to go around the outside of Lando Norris or George Russell, and he just, Max had a snap in that twitchy Red Bull. He had a snap in the first corner on cold tyres, full fuel, and well, that just ensured that he lost a couple of positions to the two Ferraris. So yes, the characteristics of that very difficult to handle Red Bull already showing its head and showing its face, shall we say, in the first corner. As wow, Bortoleto, very, very bizarre from Bortoleto, had a snap of oversteer mid-corner through turn 8. Unbelievable characteristic there shown from the Stake F1 car. Still yet to see exactly what happened to Nico Hülkenberg and as to why he lost so many positions at the start. But Fernando Alonso is your confirmed first retirement with a brake failure in P20 there. Liam Lawson on the back of Jack Doohan as it currently stands. There's a double yellow in turn 2 as well. Why are there double yellows being thrown? Is this for gravel? Is there potentially some fluid out on circuit maybe from that brake failure of Fernando Alonso? We will see, but it is quickly removed. So 6 laps about to be completed here at the Shanghai circuit in the Chinese Grand Prix. It is Oscar Piastri leading just over a second from his teammate Lando Norris, with George Russell a further 1.3 seconds behind. Lewis Hamilton a further 1.4 seconds behind George Russell. Some gaps, some consistent gaps forming between the top 5 drivers at the moment, and you can see Max Verstappen, as he predicted, it's going to be a tough race for him. He said for him to win the race today, he needs 5 retirements ahead of him, and he's already seeing a 3-second gap to the back of Charles Leclerc, who, bearing in mind, has front wing damage. So that Verstappen in that Red Bull, it just shows how tricky that car is and how much it is eating into its tyres. There's only so much a driver can do with the machinery underneath him, and he'll be within the touching distance of Kimi Antonelli very soon. Yuki Tsunoda in P8 going nicely as well. 1.4 seconds ahead of his teammate Isaac Hadjar. He's putting him along. It's all aboard pretty much the Yuki Tsunoda train at the moment, as everyone else behind him, 7 cars behind him, are within DRS. Isaac Hadjar in 9th, Ocon 10th, Albon 11th, Gasly up 4 positions now into P12, Stroll in 13th on that hard compound tyre in that pack. Sainz up a position into 14th with Alonso's retirement. Behrman on the hard compound tyre as well in 15th. Jack Doohan is in 16th. Liam Lawson is in 17th. Looking to try and overtake Jack Doohan, and Hülkenberg and Bortoleto are at the back of the field there. And Hülkenberg has not been able to catch up to Liam Lawson and Jack Doohan, and Bortoleto is going very long as he, with that spin, was forced to pit very early. So we'll see how he gets on. On mediums, first stop, maybe lap 22 to 28. I still think lap 22 to 28 is a tall order for those medium to compound tyres to go. We will see. We'll keep an eye out on the lap times and see how quickly they drop off. Last time around, Oscar Piastri did a 37.8 as Norris just creeps into the 38s. We're seeing Hamilton around a second off of Oscar Piastri last time around there. So Lewis Hamilton, is he doing this by design? Is he just dropping, as Yuki Tsunoda says, I want to use more front, and Tsunoda says, and they report back to him and say, we don't want you to. Yuki, well, I want to. Well, we don't want you to. Quite a comedic exchange there between Yuki Tsunoda and his team on the pit wall, because yes, this track is very front limited. The front tyres are what take the pounding round here. They are what take the hurt, and well, you don't want to lean more into those front tyres than necessary, because otherwise you're just going to kill your race. So is this what potentially Lewis Hamilton is doing right now? Is he just consciously going at a pace that he knows he can manage his tyres? No doubt these teams would have looked at the lap times and discussed what is a suitable lap for them under these conditions when they go into tyre management mode. And you can see Lando Norris dropping back 1.5 seconds as well from the drivers ahead, and you can see the top 5 other than Charles Leclerc on Lewis Hamilton, because I think he kind of really needs to stay within the DRS with that. As Lewis Hamilton reports small graining on the front left tyre already, and we're 7 laps into this race, and the drivers are already reporting graining on that front left. So yes, but Charles Leclerc in the DRS of his teammate, I think he maybe needs it because he does have that front wing damage. So Charles Leclerc looking to replace that front wing in the first pit stop. They'll have to, as Max Verstappen 3.7 seconds back from Charles Leclerc, although his lap time last time wasn't too bad. It was around 2 tenths off of Lewis Hamilton and around the same as George Russell. But the McLarens are putting a gap at the moment on George. 2 seconds ahead now, 2.1 seconds ahead now. Norris is from Oscar Piastri, as Lando and Piastri are looking, no doubt, to try and just pull a gap here, get onto the hard compound tyre, and maybe we'll see them go racing. As, yes, Norris also reporting, I'm starting to struggle a little left front now. So, yes, we're going to start seeing lap times drop off. 38.1 last time around for Piastri, a 38.2 for Norris. George Russell, P3 with 38.7. And Lewis Hamilton, is he struggling a lot on those tyres, or is it just Leclerc trying to go a bit quicker and stay with this pack here? 38.6 for Lewis and a 38.4 for him. I can't imagine Leclerc is going to attack Lewis anytime, because it would be pretty much suicide for their ambitions for a double podium here today if they do so. But further down the pack at the moment, it seems that Stroll has just lost the DRS a little bit too. Gasly in front. No, now he regains it on that hard compound tyre. Liam Lawson updates. Well, it was a 39.1 last time around for him, as he is becoming a little bit unstuck behind Doohan and Behrman ahead of him, but he is on the hard compound tyre. But Behrman is also on the hard compound tyre as well. We know how tricky it can be to overtake here at the moment. What happened to Fernando Alonso? Yes, if you're just joining us, Fernando Alonso had a brake failure. His brakes were on fire. And yeah, unfortunately, he had to retire from this race. Nothing they can do about that. As Albon says, we're happy. Yeah, I'm good. I am good with the tyres. I'm better than everyone, and I'm comfortable. Alex Albon going quite nicely there. Well, I say nicely. He's down a position, but he feels comfortable at the moment in P11. So it sounds like a lot of the pit walls are very much stressing about the tyres at this moment in time. Of course, here at Shanghai Circuit, clean air is king and an undercut is powerful. So who is going to pull that trigger first to get out the dirty air and try and gain some track position? We are expecting multiple stops here today, guys. So who is going to try and gain that early advantage and go onto the hard compound tyre? We do suspect that, of course, Stroll and Behrman, those on the hard compound tyres, will not make a pit stop anytime now. I'm intrigued to see how they're getting on. They seem to be lapping quite comfortably on the hard compound tyre. But yes, Oscar Piastri back at the front. 1.7 seconds to his teammate now. So Lando Norris probably just dropping back into that window of just looking after his tyres. Because Oscar Piastri, as we know, has a habit of potentially pushing too hard, maybe too early on, and his tyre management has let him down. It is his probably biggest weakness in F1 at the moment. It has improved over the 2 seasons that he's been in the sport, but it's still definitely room for improvement as Lando drops back to 2 seconds back from Piastri now. George Russell 2.2 further back, as Lewis Hamilton is also around 2 seconds back from George Russell as well, and Charles Leclerc just staying on the back of the rear wing of his teammate at this stage, and it's probably due to the fact of his front wing, as mentioned. Kimi chasing Max. Yep, Kimi is trying to close down the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who is just dropping off the pace a little bit. He's 39.0 from him, so you can see he's around half a second off the pace, Max Verstappen, to the Ferraris alone and the Mercedes of George Russell, as Pierre Gasly is the first to pit. Pierre Gasly, let's keep an eye on him. He's the first driver to pull the trigger. He's made a few positions, as Charles Leclerc says, if it stays like this, plan A. So let's keep an eye out on Pierre Gasly and his outlap. No doubt he was in the middle of that train there behind Yuki Tsunoda. Will he gain any positions? He pitted from P13, I believe it was, or P12. Was he ahead of Stroll or behind Stroll? I think he was behind Stroll, wasn't he? So yes, let's see how he gets on. He's onto the hard compound tyre, understandably. That's what we are going to see these drivers on. He's got some clean air. Nico Hülkenberg way far ahead of him. It's an important outlap here for Pierre Gasly. Who will respond? Will Yuki respond? Will Hadjar respond? Albon, Stroll? Or are they going to go longer? But our first pit stop is on at the end of lap 10. Piastri still putting out a gap on Lando, as it shows there, and 4 temps faster than Norris last time around. But is Piastri taking too much out of his tyres? Is he going too quickly at the start of this race here, Oscar Piastri, on this medium compound tyre? It looks good, putting a gap, but it doesn't look good if you are going to burn through the life of these tyres. We have 45 laps remaining as Piastri crosses the start-finish line. He is 2 seconds ahead of his teammate Lando in P2. 38.1s last time around for both the McLaren drivers. George Russell a further 2.5 seconds back, with Lewis Hamilton in P4, 2 seconds back from George Russell and 6.5 seconds back from the lead of Piastri. Charles, as yes, we are seeing responses here in the mid-pack for Ocon and Tsunoda to Gasly's early pit stop. Gasly coming around turn 14 now. How powerful is this undercut? Has Gasly done enough? He had a good middle sector. His fastest middle sector, a 28.9 compared to those who are pitting now, who did 30s. He is a second quicker through that midfield. Through that mid-sector. It's going to be close with Gasly heading down into turn 1. He pips Esteban Ocon, and well, he's not close enough to overtake Yuki Tsunoda, but he is on the rear wing of Yuki, who was around 3 to 4 positions ahead of him at the pit stop. That is how powerful this undercut is here today, and I think that might have raised a few eyebrows up and down the grid here, or the track, with that undercut performance there from Pierre Gasly. That is a great pit stop for him. Now, how will Hadjar, Albon, Stroll, will they respond? Looks like they're doing their own thing at the moment. Will that work out for Gasly in the long run? Has he pitted potentially too early? We will see. But regardless, he gained a couple of positions there that he wouldn't have done if he stayed out where he was on track, as Pierre Gasly did indeed. Where did Pierre Gasly pit from? Pierre Gasly did pit from P12, and he's now up behind Tsunoda. So yeah, and Tsunoda was in P8. So Gasly is net P9 right now, as Esteban Ocon goes fastest in the middle sector there. So you can see how the hard compound tyre is a good race tyre. And you can see, well, really, that those who are on the medium compound tyre right now, they're around a second a lap slower, as Antonelli is the first driver to pit out of the top 7. Will Verstappen respond to cover off? Will they cover off Kimi Antonelli? It does seem like that really Verstappen, his race is with the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli today in this early stages. Whether or not the Red Bull is quicker on that harder compound tyre, who knows? Will Max try and eke out these tyres longer? We know he's very good on his tyres as well, as he's just done a green first sector, but Ocon has set purple in the second and third sector. Lots of changes happening here as Kimi Antonelli, where is he coming out? Is that a slow pit stop from Antonelli? I think that's a slow pit stop from Mercedes. Because, apologies, Antonelli has come out behind Yuki Tsunoda. What has happened there? Ocon, with such a great outlap, has got past Pierre Gasly as well in that. So, well, what has happened to Kimi Antonelli there? He was quite a margin ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, and I think it's maybe the undercut, but I also think it was a slow pit stop, potentially from Kimi Antonelli. I'm about to see whether or not it was the Mercedes team. Oh, it was a 2.7 stop. So no, it's just the fact this undercut is very powerful early on in the race. A 2.7 stop is not slow by any means, as doing on a fresh set of hards has just gone purple in the first sector. Well, we are starting to see pit stops here as Lewis Hamilton dives into the pits as well. Yes, I think we are starting to see most definitely the crossover period. Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc is released, and Lewis Hamilton, as the lead Ferrari, comes into the pits first. Verstappen in the pits as well. 14 laps, guys. We did predict that these medium tyres would not make it to lap 20. Well, we were correct. Lap 14. That is where these drivers are pitting off, or start of lap 14. So only 13 laps actually completed on these medium compound tyres. But we are starting to see a considerable amount of undercuts happening here. Hamilton is out on the hards. He's okay. Verstappen. So, Hamilton, how much time will he be able to make on George Russell here? That's who he was behind. He was around 2.5 to 3 seconds behind George Russell, I think, when he pitted. So, how powerful will this outlap be for Lewis Hamilton? He does have traffic in front of him, though. He has Liam Lawson ahead of him on the hard compound tyre, who is yet to pit, as well as Ollie Behrman. So, not ideal for Lewis, but better potentially, and this is the problem, I guess, maybe for George Russell, for Lando Norris and Piastri. They need to potentially stay out there a bit longer, because is there a sufficient gap for them? Because Hamilton has come out behind Nico Hülkenberg, but he's made quick work of Nico Hülkenberg there. Hülkenberg realising he is not going to be able to hold back the 4-time world champion in that Red Bull, even when it's twitchy, but he's on the fresh set of hards. All aboard the Tsunoda train, by the way. Antonelli finds himself behind Yuki Tsunoda again, as he did yesterday in the sprint race. Pierre Gasly, Hadjar is now, unfortunately, with that pit stop, come back out behind the pack there. He is down 10 positions as Oscar Piastri is into the pits. Oscar Piastri and George Russell responding to the potential undercut of Lewis Hamilton. So how close will Lewis Hamilton be able to make time here on Piastri and George Russell? I'm not sure if he'll be able to get close. Piastri is going to maintain the lead. He was sufficiently that far ahead. George Russell says, I think it's going to be a one-stop. Keep it sending. Front left is clearing up. George thinks it's going to be a one-stop. Really? Okay, George. Bit out there. Maybe he's just trying to do something a bit outside the box to try and maintain position, but that is a really good pit stop by McLaren there, because McLaren have come out ahead of that pack of Lance Stroll. That is a great pit stop for Oscar Piastri, as you can see there, that George Russell has come out behind Ollie Behrman, who is racing for position. There are no blue flags here for George Russell and Ollie Behrman, because Ollie Behrman is on the hard compound tyre, but Behrman doesn't fight it too hard, and Hamilton is coming a bit unstuck behind Liam Lawson, it seems, right now. Lawson playing that number 2 driver very well as it currently stands, and this no doubt is what he will be looking to do, is hold up that red Ferrari as much as he possibly can, as Max Verstappen sets the fastest first sector out of anyone. So Lando will respond now, no doubt, or will he try and go a bit longer? We will see. How are his tyres compared to everyone else? It's a 38.3 for him last time around, but we are starting to see those on the hard compound tyres do 38. Ooh, 38's already. So actually, Lando Norris's medium laps times aren't too bad, but he is responding. As the second McLaren car, he is into the pits second, as is also Charles Leclerc. He will no doubt probably take a front wing change. We will see. We will see. But I'm surprised maybe they haven't pitted. As Lewis Hamilton's making a move on Liam Lawson down into turn 14. How hard will Liam Lawson be able to fight this from Lewis Hamilton? Not that hard. 14 laps difference between their tyres, and Lewis Hamilton makes the work, gets past Liam Lawson, as Alex Albon is currently in P1, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Albon stopped the count in the Williams, P1 as it currently stands. Yes, he still has to pit, but it's nice for Alex Albon to say he's led an F1 race this season, hey? Who would have thought that in a Williams? As his teammate, Carlos Sainz, is in P6 at the moment. It seems that the Williams are going a bit longer here. As you can see, George Russell has actually got ahead of Lando Norris. So by Lando Norris going just a touch longer, as he's trying to overtake Lance Stroll for position here. These are all for position, these moves. Lando Norris trying to make quick work of Stroll as well, so that he can get on the back of George Russell. They're going side by side through turn 8. Norris gets past Stroll. How hard will Stroll be able to fight this, with Carlos Sainz close behind on the mediums as well? As I was saying, that the Williams are clearly taking a different approach in their strategy in relation to the rest of the field, going a lot longer on this medium. Maybe they do potentially see a one-stop here today rather than a two-stop, as Lewis Hamilton is becoming a bit unstuck behind Ollie Behrman, as Leclerc came out behind him. Verstappen, fastest lap last time around for him on the hard compound tyre of 37.3. He needs to be careful though on that Red Bull, as George Russell nearly ran into the back of Lance Stroll there. But Lando Norris, he has been undercut by the Mercedes of George Russell, and you can see George Russell is actually gaining a bit of time on Oscar Piastri. He's gaining a bit of time on Oscar Piastri here. Oscar Piastri is not in clean air anymore. He is behind Alex Albon, who he will have to overtake for track position, as Albon continues out there on circuit at the moment. Oscar Piastri, as Ollie Behrman is overtaken by Lewis Hamilton. Will he also lose a position to Charles Leclerc? He will indeed, as George Russell sets the fastest lap of the race. That's why that gap has come down, because George Russell just did a lap that was 6 tenths quicker than that of Oscar Piastri, while having to overtake Lance Stroll. Liam Lawson moves out of the way for his teammate Max Verstappen, as they are both on the hard compound tyre, but all aboard the Hulkenberg train at the moment on the medium compound tyre, with Yuki Tsunoda close behind. Esteban Ocon in 14th. Kimi Antonelli is in P15, and I'm not sure. Obviously, there's a number of drivers still yet to make pit stops here. Albon, Stroll, Sainz, Ollie Behrman on the hard compound tyre, Liam Lawson as well. Nico Hulkenberg, those who are down in 13th place, they are technically still in their net positions of where they pitted out from. But by the way, guys, thank you for everyone subscribing. Over 37,000 subs right now, 9,000, nearly 10,000 viewers right now. Continue to hit that like and subscribe button. We are only 17 laps into this race. We still have 40 laps remaining here at the Shanghai circuit, and it's a very interesting race thus far. If we have a run down through the grid, well, how relevant it will be, we will see. As actually, I'm going to hold on just for a second before we do that, because there could be some overtakes here, as Oscar Piastri is in the DRS of that Williams. It is not Alex Albon's fight today against the McLaren. He is still yet to make a pit stop, and he is fighting for those points at the lower end. But will this strategy work out for them as Lewis Hamilton's trying to overtake Carlos Sainz here down into P7. These drivers going long have kind of put a spanner in the works for a lot of these drivers as Piastri does get past Alex Albon. Hamilton and Leclerc also do dispatch Carlos Sainz. He's not fighting that too hard as Nico Hülkenberg is being overtaken there by Yuki Tsunoda. There could be multiple overtakes here down into turn 14. It's getting very close between them as Carlos Sainz dives into the pit lane. He is now making a pit stop. Alex Albon still continuing to stay out there. He's liking his chances at the moment. Verstappen, a 37.3 for him last time around. He is down in P9 with Ollie Behrman next up on his list. But we can see there, Tsunoda got past Nico Hülkenberg. Ocon also dispatched Nico Hülkenberg as well. Antonelli's going to be thinking about doing the same. Ocon is going side by side with Yuki Tsunoda through turn 2. And he's just had to back out of it there. And Ocon in this Haas is definitely showing a lot more confidence and promise than he did last time out in Australia. Ollie Behrman doing a decent job as well on that hard compound tyre. So Albert Park, we mentioned it before, is not always really that much of a representative track, and we are seeing that why here at a more traditional circuit at Shanghai. But Hamilton coming unstuck behind Lance Stroll. He needs to dispatch him pretty quickly as he is 3 tenths behind. As Lando Norris, apologies, did get past George Russell into turn 1 while I was focusing on the rest of the field. Lots happening here. Kimi Antonelli still stuck behind Nico Hülkenberg. He needs to try and dispatch him as he has Isaac Hadjar close behind him. Pierre Gasly, that undercut looked to be amazing early on, but potentially it was too early as Isaac Hadjar made quick work of Gasly, which I did miss. And Jack Doohan is now on the back of his teammate. Verstappen closing up behind Ollie Behrman. Alex Albon is now in the crosshairs of Lando Norris as Hamilton does make quick work of Lance Stroll. Will Lance Stroll hold up Charles Leclerc into turn 16? He will indeed as Max Verstappen gets past Ollie Behrman on a very considerable difference of tyre life there as Antonelli gets past Hülkenberg. Multiple overtakes here at the Shanghai circuit as Liam Lawson finally dives into the pit lane from that medium compound tyre. He started from the pit lane and he is back in it, dipping off of the hard compound tyres. We'll see if he goes on to another set of hards here and potentially ends the race onto the mediums. He definitely won't be doing a one-stop race here today, you do suspect, because those mediums just don't look like they're going to last very long. So Carlos Sainz is down in P17. Bortoletto, who spun on the first lap, is down in 19th. And well, let's have a rundown, shall we, of this grid as it currently stands. So Oscar Piastri is leading from Alex Albon, 3.2 seconds ahead of Albon, who is still yet to pit on the medium compound tyre. Albon, no doubt, about to be overtaken by Lando Norris, who is in P3 at the moment, looking to make quick work of the Williams so that he can catch up to the back of his teammate who has led from the start. George Russell, who did undercut Lando Norris but has now been overtaken by him, is in P4. Lewis Hamilton, who has now cleared the traffic of those who were yet to pit, which has put up a bit of a roadblock for the Ferraris. He is still only a couple of seconds back from George Russell up ahead as Lando Norris, if we just pause our running through the grid here as it currently stands, as Lando Norris is making an overtake on the Williams of Albon. Will George Russell also be able to make quick work of Alex Albon as that confirmation of that overtake has been confirmed down into turn 14? Norris now 3.6 seconds back from Oscar Piastri, so Piastri has been able to utilise that time spent with his teammate behind Alex Albon to pull out a bit of a nice gap there. As Russell isn't able to make quick work of Alex Albon at the moment. So that's two Mercedes-powered cars are going. Well, Albon's doing very nicely here, by the way. I wonder if he is going for the one-stop. I'm intrigued to see how he gets on. Could this be absolute genius decision here by Williams, or is it something that is just not going to be feasible? But let's continue our run through the grid as we did get to Lewis Hamilton in P5, 2.3 seconds back from George Russell, as Leclerc is in P6 close behind. I still think with his pit stop there, he is still having some he still is driving with front wing damage at the moment, Charles Leclerc, which he gained on his teammate into the second corner. Caught by surprise there, Charles Leclerc. Very lucky that there's not more sizable damage and that Lewis Hamilton didn't receive a puncture on the first lap. We have seen it before. Lance Stroll on the hard compound tyres being closed down by Max Verstappen now in P7, still yet to pit. Verstappen in P8. He is 5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, and well, we saw him fall off the pace very quickly early on, complaining about the tyres, which he did say before this race, after qualifying yesterday, that he would need 5 retirements ahead of him to have a chance of winning. We can see that Behrman is still yet to pit as well in P9. As Hamilton says, as Charles Leclerc is being swapped. They are going to swap positions, apparently, Hamilton and Leclerc. That's interesting. So the Ferraris are going to swap positions. Are they taking a different approach here? Is Lewis Hamilton struggling, or is that just a difference in approach to their races? And maybe Charles Leclerc is going to try and push. We will see as Albon finally goes into the pit lane, into turn 9. Into turn 9, into P9, as there is confirmation of that change of position there, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So maybe with that front wing damage, Charles Leclerc is just going to try and push as much as he can to try and build up a gap. But actually, at the moment, his front wing, he's going nicely. He is going nicely. I'm not entirely sure what his deck is and how much he'd be potentially losing with that front wing damage. But yes, confirmation of a change in position there for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Hang on. As Lewis Hamilton says, well, I am closing on George. As they are indeed closing on George Russell, because that gap is 1.7, 1.8 seconds back to George Russell as it currently stands. But we still have 36 laps remaining of this race, not even at the halfway point at the moment. And it is Piastri from Norris with George Russell in P3, losing time to George Russell, 1.6 seconds back, with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton quickly gaining. Not entirely sure why that swap is happening, but Charles Leclerc is pushing. He is most definitely pushing at the moment, trying to catch up to George Russell, 1.6 seconds back. Keep an eye on that interval time, guys. Max Verstappen did make quick work of Lance Stroll, and now we have Stroll and Behrman, the only two drivers yet to make pit stops here. If you are just joining us and you're wondering what has happened in this race, well, there was a lot of contact early on at the start, as we mentioned, with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen lost a couple of positions with that twitchy Red Bull rearing its ugly head in the very first corner, which allowed the two Ferraris to slip through. We saw Hulkenberg, which I'm still yet to find reason as to why he lost 7 positions at the start of the race. Clearly got forced out wide or had an issue somewhere. Bortoletto spun at the start as well through turn 8, and that's why he made a very early pit stop and is down in P18. We had Fernando Alonso retire due to a brake failure. His brakes were on fire, so yes, not very safe for him, and he had to retire the car. And that is about it at the moment, as everyone, apart from Stroll and Behrman, have made their pit stops. That gap now from Leclerc to George Russell is 1.3 seconds. Lewis Hamilton sitting at 1.6 seconds back. So is there just a change in approach here for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton? Will Charles Leclerc just be going on full attack mode to try and push as much as he can with that front wing damage? How much is that front wing damage potentially doing to his potential and opportunity to tyre save? Is it something he can't do, so he's just going to go a bit quicker than he would potentially like to? But Lewis Hamilton is dropping back a little bit, 1.9 seconds back now. But yeah, we will see. But Alex Albon, he made that pit stop. He went very long, and he is now on the hard compound tyre and is down in 14th. So we will see whether or not if this strategy works for Williams, because we are expecting another stop here, guys. The music's annoying. I will turn the music down slightly, ladies and gentlemen. I will turn the music down a little bit so that you guys can just be... I'll turn it down a little bit. But there we go. Right. Hang on. This is a shame, Charles Leclerc says, as the pace is there. So, yeah, Charles Leclerc... Charles Leclerc is just... was he reporting about that because of Lewis Hamilton holding him up? If you remember rightly, guys, back in Silverstone a couple of years ago, do you remember when Charles Leclerc had that front wing damage and he was quicker with that front wing damage than he was with a full working and functional front wing? So maybe Ferrari have found a cheat code here that you just need to have a little bit of cheeky contact with your front wing end plate, and yes, you gain a bit of time. We're here to listen to you, not to the music, of course, of course. It's only just a little bit of background music, that's all. But yes, let's get rock and rolling again, guys. Big thank you to everyone tuning in. 11,000 of you here right now. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button if I can ask kindly. We're trying to get to 40,000 subs. Go on, you can do it. If you're new here, this is what we do for every single session. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time for Suzuka in Japan, but we still have 34 laps remaining here at the Shanghai circuit. It is Piastri leading from Lando Norris. 4 seconds difference between the front two at the moment, between the two McLaren teammates. It is a race of attrition here. The tyres are taking a pounding, and well, Oscar Piastri, it has been his weakness in the past. It has been a strength of Lando Norris, and will Piastri be able to overcome that today and see it across the finish line and win from pole position? His first pole position in a McLaren for a full race, not a sprint race. George Russell is a further 1.5 seconds back from Lando Norris. He's doing a tremendous job in that Mercedes and just doing what he needs to do, quietly going about his business, not causing too much fuss. With Charles Leclerc a further 1.2 seconds back. He was gaining to George Russell. He just got to that 1 second window just outside the DRS just recently, and he has just dropped back to 1.2 with that front wing damage. Lewis Hamilton is a further 2 seconds back from his teammate. They have had the change positions here. But it does seem like that Lewis Hamilton may be not on the same pace as Charles Leclerc here for the first time throughout this weekend. Charles Leclerc has been consistently off the pace of his teammate, but now it seems like he does have the better of him at this stage of the race. Max Verstappen, 3.5 seconds back from Lewis Hamilton there. So doing much better on the hard compound tyre than he was on the mediums, as there is an overtake there for Jack Doohan. Where is Jack Doohan and Carlos Sainz? Carlos Sainz has got past Jack Doohan there through to turn 6, but Jack Doohan's coming back at the Williams into turn 8, and Carlos Sainz, who needs a good showing here this weekend, as it's been a very poor one for him and a poor start to his Williams career, makes an important decision there. Is now only 1 place separating him from his teammate ahead, Alex Albon, who was leading this race for a brief while, and he is actually only a few seconds behind his teammate, which is interesting. Very topsy-turvy race in relation to strategy at the moment. We have, going back to Max Verstappen, yes, seems to be more comfortable on that hard compound tyre than he was on the mediums. As Lewis Hamilton is saying, I need feedback on where I'm losing time. So Lewis Hamilton now wants more. Maybe his engineer took it a bit too much to heart, that you were giving him too much information, and now Lewis wants more information. So, maybe Lewis caught the end of that radio message there. Lewis Hamilton probably has been requesting for some information and hasn't been receiving it. But yes, Lewis asking, where can I make up time, as Charles Leclerc is now within that DRS of George Russell. You can see that highlighted interval there indicates that he is in the DRS of the Mercedes, and Leclerc is definitely pushing right now and definitely has some pace. The only drivers quicker than him out on track at the moment, Charles Leclerc, are the McLarens. But yes, going back down the grid there, Lance Stroll up 7 positions, still yet to Lance Stroll still yet to pit, as is Ollie Behrman, as there was just an overtake there on last lap around for Lance Stroll on Ollie Behrman, as Yuki Tsunoda Behrman was trying to overtake, Lance Stroll, as Tsunoda is in P9, back where he started, in pretty much his net 7th position, best of the rest. Once again, Yuki Tsunoda doing a great showing. Why would Yuki Tsunoda want that second Red Bull seat? You wouldn't want that second Red Bull seat while you're able to drive and finish the best of the rest at the moment. Esteban Ocon doing a good job in P10. Antonelli, a poor pit stop or strategy decision by the Mercedes team, has lost him a number of positions. He's been allowed to be undercut, as Leclerc reports the Mercedes is a dragster out of turn 12. Unbelievable the traction they have there. It's unbelievable. Leclerc impressed with the Mercedes, but he is catching the Mercedes as he is 3 tenths back from George Russell into turn 1 with DRS activated. So while he is impressed with the traction that the Mercedes has of George Russell, or George Russell has in that Mercedes, he is still catching, and you are still quicker, Charles Leclerc. No one quicker than Charles Leclerc last time around on that previous lap, with 31 remaining. The gap between Piastri and Norris is staying at consistent 4 seconds, almost lapping identically. Piastri slightly quicker than his teammate at the moment, but George Russell is under threat from Charles Leclerc. We saw Charles Leclerc come a bit unstuck behind George yesterday at the closing stages of the sprint race, but there is a considerable amount more laps remaining here than there were in the sprint race for Charles Leclerc to get past the Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton, yes, 2.2 seconds back, asking for feedback of where he can gain time or where he is losing time. Verstappen just lapping a little bit slower than Lewis Hamilton at the moment. This is Max Verstappen potentially just hoping for a safety car and hoping maybe for something to happen ahead. He did say it was going to be a tough day at the office for him, and we are seeing that today and seeing a lonely race for Verstappen, but not at the front, but down in P6. Further down, though, yes, you can see there that George Russell is getting good traction out of turn 12, as Charles Leclerc was reporting. You can see that gap going from almost 4 tenths up to 9 tenths. Russell gaining around half a second out of turn 12 all the way down to turn 14, but is making it very difficult for Charles Leclerc in the dirty area of that Mercedes to get close and perform an overtake. He does close up very quickly down into turn 1 as well, but for Charles Leclerc, it's just not enough to even try and unsettle George Russell at this moment. If Stroll pits, he will go down. Of course he will. Yep, as will Ollie Behrman as well. Let's have a Liam Lawson update. He did go onto the medium compound tyres, started from the pit lane, and well, actually, we have Ollie Behrman pitting right now. So, will they be able to take a set of medium compound tyres, Ollie Behrman, to the end and do a one-stop? I think maybe we are seeing some drivers try the one-stop here today, which I didn't think was going to even be possible, but maybe it is. As Ollie Behrman says, come on then, let's take some action. So Ollie Behrman noticing that he was dropping off and pushing his pit wall, Ollie Behrman, the young Englishman, for action to bring him into the pits as he is. As Bortoletto, who made the pit stop on the first lap, a false pit stop due to that spin early on, is now making his second pit stop of the race onto another set of mediums maybe, or another set of hards probably to take him to the end of the race. Apologies. Apologies, guys. Apologies. As Charles Leclerc now dropping outside of the DRS of George Russell. He still has it, but you can see that traction that Russell has with clean air, with a 2.3 second gap to Lando Norris ahead of him, is able to just get traction out of turn 12 and bridge the gap to Charles Leclerc. But Charles Leclerc, very good underbraking there into turn 14. That was a tremendous underbraking there as Lando Norris is now potentially making a move. Is this Lando Norris maybe now starting to make a push and chase after his teammates, who has been at the front by around 4 seconds, a 36.7 last time around for Lando Norris, 4 tenths quicker last time around than Piastri. We have 29 laps remaining of this race. That gap is now 3.7 seconds from Norris to Oscar Piastri. Piastri pitted a lap earlier than Lando. He was the front-running car, so he got the first pit stop, first choice of pit stop, as generally is the case. George Russell still being chased there. 7 tenths back is Charles Leclerc. We will keep an eye at 3.6 seconds now, that gap from Lando. So Lando most definitely just starting to use a bit more of that tyre that he has potentially been saving for the last good number of laps, leaning on those tyres more, hurting them a bit more as he's been kind to them. Out of turn 10 there, you can see 3.5 seconds now Lando Norris is to Oscar Piastri. 3.4 seconds, 3 tenths made up on Piastri in the middle sector alone there. How much does he take out of him through turn 12? I think this is Lando now starting to go on the charge. We will see. Ooh, Lewis switch it up for a one-stop. Maybe we'll see that. Maybe Lewis is just going to go for the one-stop and go for track position. So, yeah. Stuffeyy, fix the thing. Fix what thing? Fix what? Everything is working absolutely perfectly right now, ladies. And I hope you are enjoying it. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Over 12,000 of you in here. Ooh, I thought it was impossible to get over the viewing figures that we got last time around, as Oscar Piastri is 37.0. Half a second Lando Norris took out of his teammate in that last lap. 2 purple laps, 2 fastest laps for Lando Norris in a row there. And well, Lando is on a charge. Lando is on a charge and is now starting to lean on those tyres. But catching is one thing, overtaking is another, ladies and gentlemen. While Lando is starting to push, Oscar can go at this comfortable pace right now, look after his tyres, but he did respond slightly there, you can see, to his teammate, a 25.899 in the first sector, a 10th quicker than Lando. Is Piastri now going to start to lean on his tyres? George Russell, a fastest first sector for him, as he is just keeping Charles Leclerc at bay as it currently stands. Lewis Hamilton P5, 3 seconds back from his teammate. Maybe going for a one-stop race. We will see. Bortoletto fastest in the first and second sector. They're on a brand new set of hard compound tyres. As we run through the field here, we can see Lando Norris takes out another chunk of time in the middle sector over his teammate. 3.3 seconds it is now to Oscar Piastri. 3.2 seconds as he leans on that front left out of turn 13, with him heading down into the braking zone of turn 14. Bortoletto, I think, is about to set the fastest lap of the race here, down in P19. He does indeed. 35.8 for Bortoletto on a brand new set of hard compound tyres. Remember, there is no point now, no championship point for the fastest lap that has been removed this year. So that purple lap is pretty pointless now, apart from it being an ego thing for the drivers. But as we run through the field here with 27 laps remaining, 30 laps, we are on the 30th lap here, 29 laps completed. Oscar Piastri is leading from his teammate by 3.2 seconds, and Oscar Piastri, yes, just responding to his teammates' push there over the last couple of laps with a 36.5. Identical lap times, only 0.02 of a second separating the two McLaren drivers, with a predicted another one stop. As Lando Norris has been told, we've asked the car ahead to help you. Hang on. So Oscar Piastri was told basically to get a move on as well. Okay. But Lando is catching Oscar, which is interesting. So we will see. But George Russell in P3, 3.1 seconds back from the two McLarens. Yes, it does seem like the McLarens will be the ones who will take this win today. But who of the McLarens will take this win? George Russell in P3. Charles Leclerc now 1.9 seconds back from Russell. That charge on Russell was short-lived, unfortunately, as he reached the rear wing of that Mercedes. That good rear traction that Leclerc was so impressed about out of turn 12 has been the stumbling block for the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. He hasn't been able to deal with it, even with DRS, so he's dropped back to 2 seconds. Lewis Hamilton, who did let Charles Leclerc through, who does have that front wing damage but seems to be quicker, is in P5, and Lewis Hamilton 2.6 seconds from his teammate now. However, I think he is gaining a little bit of time on Charles Leclerc, so maybe Charles went for that sustained push. Maybe that was a conscious decision by Ferrari, whereas Lewis has just been tyre saving, and well, maybe he is about to fall back into his teammates' clutches, but doesn't look like it actually is. Charles Leclerc did gain a bit of time there for the last sector. Max Verstappen, 4.4 seconds back from Lewis Hamilton now, just doing his own thing, trying to maximise what he can from this race, which is going to be a tough day at the office for the Red Bull driver. Lance Stroll still yet to pit, the only driver still yet to pit. 29 laps on those hard compound tyres, is in P7. He will drop further down the field, maybe hoping for a safety car so that he can get a cheap pit stop. It is an 8-second advantage on a VSC or a safety car pit stop then under green flag conditions. Liam Lawson has just been overtaken by Ollie Behrman, who is on a brand new set of medium compound tyres, and actually Liam Lawson is diving into the pit lane, so he is going to be switching no doubt onto a set of hard compound tyres to make it to the end of this race. Started from the pit lane with a suspension change. It was worth doing for the Red Bull driver as he qualified in P20 anyway. Through the rest of the field, we got down to Yuki Tsunoda, who is the best of the rest once again. He qualified behind his teammate, but he quickly got ahead of him at the start of the race. And well, if you're Yuki Tsunoda, why would you want to take that Red Bull seat away from Liam Lawson? Leave me be if I'm Yuki Tsunoda. Let me drive that RB. It's a much more enjoyable experience, and he's on course for scoring a haul of points again today. After a great P6 in the sprint race yesterday, he will be the best of the rest and will be promoted to P7 once Lance Stroll decides to pit, as he is closing down on him. Esteban Ocon, a great showing from him in the Haas, up 2 positions into P9 at the moment. As just a little bit of an update on Piastri and Norris. Norris is now 2.4 seconds back from his teammate with 25 laps remaining. So halfway through this race, we're about to be... Are we even halfway through this race right now? I don't even think we are we? 25, my maths, 25 laps remaining, 32... No, we are halfway through this race. Apologies, we are. My maths. Ignore me, guys. Antonelli, yes, in P10, as Ocon is doing a great job right now. Antonelli screwed over by a poor strategy decision by Mercedes. They brought him in at the wrong... Or they left him out there too long, and he got massively undercut, and he is being chased down by Hadjar, who is unfortunately down 4 positions, but still has a potential of scoring points today. Alex Albon, I think he might be going to the end of this race. He stayed out there for very long, him and his teammate Carlos Sainz, who is only separated by Pierre Gasly. So Carlos Sainz is recovering quite well with that strategy, as Ollie Behrman is going for a move on Jack Doohan down into turn 1 on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. He isn't able to dispatch the Australian driver at the moment. Hulkenberg is down 5 positions in P17. Lawson's just pitted, as we mentioned, and Bortoletto is in 19th. But update on that gap between Piastri and Norris as we head to the top of the field, and 2.6 seconds now. 3 attempts last time around is what Norris took out of Oscar Piastri. He's just had a bit of a poor middle sector, Lando, and as we mentioned, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. Lando is going to start to approach that dirty air of his teammate ahead. So how will he fare? We will see. He's just lost a couple of attempts there in the last couple of sectors as Lawson goes fastest in the first sector out of anyone there. 25.4 on a brand new set of hards. Albon cannot get past Hadjar at the moment. I think Albon at the moment is just trying to... I think the Williams are trying to do a one-stop. I think they're on a completely different strategy to everyone else. They went a very long distance on the mediums. Alex Albon took those mediums 20 laps. He went 8 laps longer than Isaac Hadjar. So I think they might be trying to go for a one-stop. We'll see if it's feasible or not. But yeah, so there's no need for him to try and get up to the back of Isaac Hadjar as Doohan is being overtaken there by Ollie Behrman, or he's defending hard. Jack Doohan, he wants to show his racing chops. Of course, he's fighting for his seat every single corner that he takes here. He doesn't know whether or not it will be his last in an F1 car, of course, with Colapinto waiting in the wings, and Ollie Behrman on the medium compound tyre overtakes Jack Doohan up into P15. As Norris is saying, can you tell him to just speed up a little bit because I'm in dirty air and I don't want to F my tyres. So yes, Lando Norris has been on a bit of a push, and he is now, even though 2.8 seconds further back from his teammates, he is in the dirty air. That is how prevalent dirty air is, and it does have a factor on the level of grip and downforce that these drivers have, and that is why clean air is king, as Oscar Piastri said. It's why we saw why really Lewis Hamilton and the Ferraris and anyone really needed to get on pole position, because it was very much going to compromise their race if they wasn't from the front, as we saw Lewis Hamilton lead from the front from start to finish yesterday, and we are potentially seeing that again here today. Norris crying on the radio again. No, he's not crying. He's not crying. But yes, guys, big thank you for everyone tuning in. Over 12,000 of you here right now. It's hit that like button. 12,000 of you and only 1,100 likes. And we're only at 37,200 subscribers. Go on, you can get that up to 40,000. I know you guys can. Please continue to hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back here for every single race this year. If you're enjoying it, if you're new to the channel, yes, it's just a token of your appreciation. Thank you for choosing to watch along with us. So, Oscar Piastri, as we have 23 laps remaining, is leading just by around 3 seconds now to his teammate as he has given off that dirty air to Lando. We need a safety car, I think, really, to maybe spice up the end of this race. We do predict there might be one more pit stop as Isaac Hadjar is diving into the pit. So Isaac Hadjar is making that second pit stop. Let's see how this pans out for him. Will he be able to perform an undercut here? We saw the undercut be very strong in that first stint. And, well, it no doubt is going to be strong here again. So, Isaac Hadjar, will he be able to make up any time to Antonelli ahead and Esteban Ocon? So far, the hard tyre looks like it's robust. George behind has been told he's going until the end, which is what Lando Norris has just been informed. George Russell trying to take this hard compound tyre to the end. So the hard compound tyre, unlike the medium, is a lot more durable than its, softer brother or sister, shall we say, sibling. So yeah, the medium is definitely not a good tyre, which is potentially why Liam Lawson came off of that tyre very quickly and only did 12 laps on that medium. Even though he had less fuel in the car, he has gone straight onto the hard compound tyre. So Isaac Hadjar comes out into clean air. Who is going to respond to Isaac Hadjar's pit stop? We will see. 22 laps remaining. We will keep an eye on Tsunoda Ocon. Will Tsunoda pit as well? I think Tsunoda will probably keep going. There's no point pitting Tsunoda out from where he is in P8 and giving up track position. If RB do this right now, I think it's a poor decision to pit Yuki Tsunoda. Don't pit Yuki. Good. He stays out there as Yuki is staying in P8. Lance Stroll is trying to goal hang for a safety car right now and get a cheap pit stop, as he is the sole Aston Martin left out there and currently up 7 positions. If he pits now, he'll end up out of the points. This phase of the race is just about patience, is what Lando Norris is being reported. Then if we've got fuel and stuff later, we can have a go. So at the moment, with 22 laps remaining, it's just about potentially looking after your tyres and ensuring you have enough to the end. Isaac Hadjar, a purple middle sector on a brand new set of hards, and green in the last sector as well. A full second quicker than Jack Doohan, who is on 23 lap hards in that last sector, which is a tremendous time. Leclerc and Hamilton, what was the point of that change? It's not like he's getting past Russell. I think they may be changing at the end. I think I heard a radio message when that was being discussed, but if Leclerc wasn't able to get past him, they will switch at the end. But Lewis Hamilton is being closed down a bit by Max Verstappen. A 36.9 for Max there last time around. A PB for him, his best lap of the race, compared to Lewis, who did a 37.2. So maybe Max just starting to lean on the tyres a little bit more. Maybe he's going to be taking maybe he'll be taking a second pit stop. We will see. But Isaac, has anyone responded to Isaac Hadjar's pit stop? They haven't. Interesting. They haven't responded to Isaac Hadjar's pit stop yet, so they're just waiting. Ollie Behrman closing down on Carlos Sainz. Small risk of rain. 3 laps at the end is being reported. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. A small amount of rain is being forecast in the closing stages of this race. We will see. That will flip things on its head. Why is Yuki pitting? Okay, Yuki is pitting. RB, this better be a decent decision. This better be the right strategy call. Otherwise, you've just thrown away points for... Oh my God, is Yuki about to be undercut by his own team? Is Yuki about to be undercut by his own team there? No. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Right, this better be the right decision. They better be expecting the other drivers ahead to be making a pit stop. But if I'm Esteban Ocon, I am trying to eke out these hard compound tyres to the end. If I'm Antonelli, I'm taking these tyres to the end. I'm not quite convinced that RB have just made the right call there to pit Yuki from P8, net P7. We will see, but I really hope that that is not the case for Yuki, and he has just been shafted by points again, the second race weekend in a row for his team. But as we are 20 laps remaining in this race, Oscar Piastri is leading from Lando Norris just by 3 seconds, with the potential reports of rain in the closing stages of this race. George Russell is 5 seconds back in P3. Charles Leclerc, 3.3 seconds back from George Russell. He put up a challenge on George Russell, but George Russell comfortably held it off. Lewis Hamilton is in P5, 3.5 seconds back, and well, is being caught by Max Verstappen, who is starting to lean on those tyres. I wonder if, as Lance Stroll has now just made a pit stop and has taken those hard compound tyres as long as he possibly can, and well, we'll see where he comes out. He'll no doubt be going on to the mediums to the end, as you have to use 2 compounds of tyre, mandatory 2 compounds of tyre in a F1 race, otherwise you will be disqualified. But Max Verstappen, is he potentially having a pit stop upcoming, which is now why he's starting to lean on the tyres? I do think so. That's probably why he is going considerably quicker than Lewis and Leclerc, who may be trying to take these hards to the end. I don't imagine Max would be going 8 tenths, 7 tenths quicker all of a sudden in a Red Bull that has struggled today if he was trying to go to the end. Lando Norris lent on those tyres quite considerably last time around, by the way. 4 tenths quicker than Oscar Piastri, 36.3 for him, 36.6 for George Russell there. So there is a bit of time out there to be had, but yes, the Ferrari's a little bit off it. As Max has been reported. Good pace now, better late than never, 20 laps remaining. Okay, so maybe Max does have some pace in the car right now, and he's just genuinely starting to lean on the tyres, as there is a slight delay here in the track map. Not entirely sure what has just occurred, and in the data. What has happened, ladies and gentlemen? What has happened to the data? It's frozen. What has happened to the data? There we go. We're back. Just a refresh there. Just a quick refresh, as we had a slight pause, as Yuki Tsunoda has lap time deleted at turn 14. So Yuki Tsunoda struggling to get those tyres potentially up to temperature, but he is going. So he's back out behind Lance Stroll, and well, now he's fighting for position. So he's been... Lance Stroll, with that issue there with Yuki Tsunoda last time around, he actually hasn't gained on Lance Stroll. He hasn't been able to do the undercut on Lance Stroll, and Lance Stroll has had a right touch there and has come out ahead of Yuki Tsunoda on the medium compound tyres. So we'll see whether Lance Stroll will be able to make those medium compound tyres last to the end, or whether Yuki... is going to be losing a position here. But yeah, it seems like RB may have made a poor strategy decision. We will see. Once again, Lando Norris 2.4 seconds back from Piastri that time around. Another 4 attempts taken out of Piastri in the last lap. But Piastri did slightly respond to Norris's push lap last time, and, well, it still wasn't quick enough in the first sector compared to Lando's 25.7. There's more time that's been taken out of the lap here in Norris and Piastri. As you can see, that gap starting to close. What will the gap be here as they cross the line? It is a 36.5 for Piastri and a 36.1 for Norris again. Another 4 tenths taken out of Piastri, Lando Norris. We could see the McLarens potentially in the closing stages of this race going at it, and I think that's what we all want to see. It's what we all want to see. Lewis pitted, but why? Oh, apologies. In that whole thing there, yes, Lewis has pitted onto the hard compound tyre. Obviously struggling. Couldn't take the tyre to the end, and we'll see what his pace is like now on the hards. You do think that he'd be able to go kind of a bit quicker to the end. Will he be able to catch Max Verstappen, who no doubt will probably try and take those hards to the end as well? We'll see, as Pierre Gasly gets overtaken by Ollie Behrman, who, oh, actually, they're side by side, Pierre Gasly and Ollie Behrman through turn 16, and well, Ollie Behrman on the medium compound tyre, trying to steal that last point scoring position away. Imagine Haas score double points here this weekend. What a turn that would be in performance. Hang on. Little bit of graining being reported for Norris here, as his tyres are a little bit... He's going for the graining phase, apparently, at the moment, Lando Norris, but his lap times have been decent, as you can see there. Piastri responding a little bit in the middle sector to Lando Norris, but that gap staying at 2.4 seconds. Can Lando get closer and get within that DRS to have an attack on his teammate? It's going to be tricky with that dirty air, but yes, apologies. Haas looking for double points here today. Can they do it after everyone slandered them, rightfully so, for such a poor showing in Australia? But here at Shanghai, how very much differently it has been for the Haas team. It's flipped on its head. Yuki Tsunoda, though, I still feel like Yuki's been a bit shafted here. He is catching up to the back of Stroll and Doohan, but it's a lot of cars that he has to overtake between now and the end of the race if they stay out there. I mean, he has to overtake 5 cars to even get into P10, and I'm not sure that has been a right decision for the RB team, unless those hard compound tyres completely fall off a cliff for everyone ahead. But we can see that Behrman is going on the charge again. DRS open, another attack down into turn 14. Behrman's been very aggressive on the brakes down into turn 14 as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of a race of 35.8, 6 tenths quicker that time around than Max Verstappen, who is on 26 lap old hards, as Behrman does go side by side again with Pierre Gasly through turn 16, and Behrman just cannot get the move done on Pierre Gasly, but he does have DRS again. Will he be able to swoop around the outside of Pierre Gasly into turn 1? I think he has got it done before he even heads into the braking zone of turn 1, and Behrman, unless Gasly decides to come back at him, and Behrman's gone deep, I think, into turn 2, and Gasly just cannot hold on to that last point score in position there of P10. It's been a great showing from both of these drivers, starting quite considerably far down the pack. Behrman up 7 positions at the moment, and he's up into P10. Pierre Gasly up another 5 positions like he was in the sprint race yesterday in P11, but maybe falling just a bit too short. The question now is, can they take those tyres to the end? The medium compound tyre, Ollie Behrman and Pierre Gasly, maybe they will fall into the clutches of Carlos Sainz, who is on the hard compound tyre. How durable is that medium at this stage of the race? But Lewis Hamilton, a 35.8 for him last time around. He's got 18.7 seconds to catch to Max Verstappen, as Max is catching Charles Leclerc. So Max has a bit of life in these tyres at the end. Interesting, very interesting. Norris has lost a bit of time to his teammate, a 36.0 for Piastri. He does look very comfortable leading from the front. Of course, if Norris does catch, Piastri can just go at his own pace and will make sure that he has more life in those tyres to hold off Lando Norris when he maybe, if he eventually approaches him. Over 13,000 viewers here in the stream, guys. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. Go on, you can do it. Let's get this stream to 40,000. Let's get this channel to 40,000. Gasly needs to pit for tyre swap. Yeah, 29 laps on the mediums. Actually, he's on the hards. It's just swapped, as we just mentioned that. Gasly is actually on 30 lap old hards. He's not on mediums. So, yes, Lewis Hamilton, another fastest first sector for him, another fastest lap last time around. I think this is just full attack mode for Lewis Hamilton to the end of the race now. 16 potential quali laps for him on this hard compound tyre, which does seem to be very durable. Didn't really think the one stop was going to be possible today, but that difference from the medium to the hard compound tyre, there is more of a difference in performance this time around this year. Pirelli have stated in between the level of compounds, so that we see potentially more of a drop-off in the softs, in the mediums and the hards throughout the compounds that are available. C1 to C6, we are using the C2, C3 and C4 here this weekend. So the C2 is the hard compound tyre, so it is nearly the hardest level of compound that we see at a race circuit, and it's evidently showing here today. It is a very, very durable tyre, and we are probably going to see a one-stop because they're doing very good pace, and they're getting quicker and quicker as the fuel burns out of these cars, as Lewis Hamilton is about to set another fastest lap of the race. But it will mean diddly squat because there is no .4 fastest lap anymore. Unfortunately. Hammer time, yep, 35.0 for him that time around. So it's good, but it's a full 1.1 seconds quicker than Max Verstappen, but he's got 17.6 seconds to make up to Max. Charles Leclerc is 4 tenths slower than Max Verstappen at the moment, but Max still needs to make up 4 seconds as well. But let's keep an eye on Yuki Tsunoda. He's caught up to the back of Jack Doohan, but he's still got a considerable amount of cars to overtake before he gets there. Liam Lawson, how is his race pace? He's down in 17th position. Bit of a very lonely race for him. He's done a 36.6 last time around compared to Max Verstappen's 36.1 on fresher tyres. So better from Lawson. But yeah, of course, another weekend to forget for him. Will be interesting to see if the car performed better, handled better for him, if he can, and see if he built any confidence after completing a full race here today. We have 14 laps remaining, guys. It is Oscar Piastri who has just crossed the start-finish line. He is leading 3.9 seconds, 4 seconds ahead of Norris now. That gap that Norris got down to 2.3 seconds only a few laps ago has gone back out to 4 seconds. As Verstappen is being reported, this is top pace. Keep going. 36.2 for Max. Another 3 attempts taken out of Charles Leclerc, who does have that front wing damage. So yes, Norris 4.1 seconds behind his teammate Piastri, with George Russell a further 5 seconds behind. It could be another podium position here for George Russell, who has just quietly gone about his business here this weekend. It's been a very good point scoring weekend for George Russell in the sprint yesterday and potentially here today. He will still be third in the championship as it currently stands, not too far behind. I think he'll still be third. We'll have a look at the championship standings once the race ends, guys. Do not dip off anywhere because we'll be taking everything in and discussing what has happened in this race, as we always do in our post-race show. Charles Leclerc, 4.8 seconds back from George Russell. It doesn't look like he's going to have catch him. He's more at risk of being caught by Max Verstappen as Stroll overtakes Carlos Sainz up there in P12. Lance Stroll making a potential late push with 14 laps remaining in for a point scoring position. Who would have thought that Lance Stroll, who went so long on those hard compound tyres, would currently be 3 positions ahead of Yuki Tsunoda? I tell you what, now I've seen it, I mean, yeah, RB have screwed Yuki. RB have screwed Yuki. They should not have pitted him. They should have left him out there. Don't know why they did it. He should be ahead of Ocon right now in P7. And Yuki is not going to score any points here again today for the second race weekend in a row. Here come the conspiracy theories of whether it was intentional or not. I don't know. But yes, really, really silly decision by RB. Whether Yuki had not enough left in his tyres, I don't know. But he was comfortably holding Esteban Ocon behind. It didn't seem like he was pushing. And now he is stuck behind Jack Doohan. And there's no way in 13 laps remaining that he is going to get into P10. Hell no. No way. Let alone anywhere near Esteban Ocon, who is way up the road. So a real shame there. But as I say that, Yuki is no doubt very angry in that cockpit of the RB car, and he's overtaking Jack Doohan, and he's up into P14. Carlos Sainz will be next in his crosshairs. The two Stake F1 cars have been a tough race for them at the back there, maybe just fighting amongst themselves. Still not entirely sure what happened with Hülkenberg at the start of the race. He lost 7 positions on the first lap, which is a real shame for Hülkenberg. Potentially could have scored some points today, but it does look like their pace has just been well off on this hard compound tyre compared to everyone else. And interestingly, no one's been lapped yet. No one has been lapped yet, but the Stake F1 cars most likely will be at some point. Alonso is our only retirement with that brake issue failure, or that brake failure issue, sorry, that happened in the early stages of the race. Max is being reported. Just keep it up, Max. Obviously, everybody's trying to hang it out now. Don't know what can happen at the end. Interesting. So, yes, everyone's obviously trying to eke out this one stop here with 12 laps remaining, with still that potential of a sprinkle of rain at the end, which could cause chaos. So we will see. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. If you're enjoying this stream, please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. As always, I know I sound like a broken record, but it really does help. And yeah, trying to bring us closer to doing this full-time for you and bring you more content. So Charles Leclerc does respond to Max with a fastest lap last time around, a 36.4, but Max Verstappen still 2 tenths quicker. So he has looked after those hard compound tyres very well early on, and he's trying to close down that gap to Charles. Lewis Hamilton, could he not take those hard compound tyres to the end of the race? I don't know. I'd be interested to hear his interview afterwards. He did make some changes from the sprint race to his setup to qualifying, which apparently didn't have the desired effect and maybe have done some unnecessary kind of damage to the tyre management of potential of that Ferrari. And, well, I guess we haven't really seen Lewis Hamilton in dirty air this weekend other than today. He led from the front yesterday. It's all well and good with when clean air is king and you're at the front, but in the dirty area is a bit of a different kettle of fish. But Lewis 15.2 seconds back from Max Verstappen now. He is still quicker, 4 tenths quicker, but at this rate, it's not going to be quick enough to catch Max Verstappen. He needs over a second per lap now to the end to catch him. As Leclerc is told, we're losing some time in turn 2. Try one lap without using the curb. As Leclerc responds, nope. Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. So Charles Leclerc is like, no, leave me be. He knows the car better than anyone. He has damage to that front wing. It seems that front wing has actually made him quicker, similar to how it did a few years ago in Silverstone, if you remember, and when Carlos Sainz won the race and won his first race in a Ferrari. So running through the grid again, Piastri is in P1. 4.3 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. Piastri has controlled this race very well from the start. He hasn't been threatened at all, other than maybe a poor start, which allowed George Russell to get alongside him, but he pinned George to the inside, which meant George did not have the momentum to take it past Oscar Piastri, and actually lost George Russell a position to Lando, who swung around the outside. Russell in P3, 5 seconds back. Charles Leclerc 4.4 seconds back as well. Another PB from him last time around, but he's consistently losing 3 to 2 tenths per lap to Max Verstappen. I think Max will catch Charles before the end of this race, so we will see a battle at least, unless the rain decides to show its face at the end. Weather update, possible class 1 on the last lap only. Oh, imagine it downpours on the last lap. Imagine it downpours on the last lap. I guarantee Lewis has damage to his car after Charles hit him. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It does seem odd that Charles was quicker than Lewis, and Lewis had a fully functioning car that we know of. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Charles has just come alive in the race compared to Lewis with those setup changes he made. But we'll see. How many more laps? If you look at the top left-hand corner of your screen, it says 47 out of 56 laps completed. We're on the 47th lap, and there are 10 laps remaining, which is including this one. So, yes, 9 laps remaining once they cross the finish line. And, yes, not long to go. I feel like it's been a bit of a long race, guys. I appreciate you all for being here. Over 13,500 viewers right now. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get this stream. Come on, you could do it. 38,000 subs. Just 500 of you in here who haven't. Actually, you know what? There's definitely at least 2,000 of you, 2,500 of you in here who haven't hit that subscribe button. But yes, appreciate you being here regardless, and continue to hit that like button. As, oh dear, Yuki's day's just gone from bad to worse as he's just been overtaken by Jack Doohan, and it seems like he may even be overtaken by Hadjar. I feel so sorry for the Japanese driver, and yes, Yuki has been overtaken by Hadjar. He should not be in this position right now, Yuki Tsunoda, fighting his teammate as Yuki's diving into the pits. Oh my goodness, what is occurring here for Yuki Tsunoda at this Chinese Grand Prix? What have you done, RB? What have you done? What more does a driver need to do? All you need to do, there's been an incident between Doohan and Hadjar noted for forcing another driver off of the circuit, and I'm just waiting to see. Actually, it was Jack Doohan on Yuki Tsunoda. What is happening here with Yuki Tsunoda? Is he going to be retiring here, or is he... Oh, I think Yuki's got front wing damage. Yuki's had contact with his front wing, and he's having to pit. Are they even going to send him back out there? I'm not sure if they will, but he's got front wing damage. He's picked it up potentially from contact with Jack Doohan or from a curb strike. He is back out there, Yuki. But how is Yuki down in 19th? Oh my God. Unbelievable circumstances here in this race. Should not even be there. Should not even be there. I'll see exactly what occurred with Yuki, where he had... Yuki doesn't know what he's had front wing damage from. That's very bizarre. Yuki hasn't made car contact. He doesn't know what he's received front wing damage from. I wonder if it's a curb strike. I wonder if he's gone over the curb and he's picked up front wing damage. Very bizarre. Or maybe it's just a failure of the front wing. Who knows? But very bizarre there for Yuki, and his day has just gone from bad to worst, all caused by the team, not by his driving ability, that is for sure. As Lewis Hamilton, the fastest first sector from him, a purple there, 25.3. But he is 13.6 seconds back from Max Verstappen, who is trying to chase down Charles Leclerc. In turn, 2.3 seconds back for him. Lando Norris, 3.5 seconds back from Piastri. He got a little bit of a move on there, as there is an investigation for Jack Doohan and Isaac Hadjar, forcing another driver off the track, and apparently it's just a failure of the front wing. Yuki, unfortunately, just had a failure of the front wing. The bonding is what came off, apparently. So, oh my God, you don't often see that, a failure on itself of the front wing. Of course, they do take a bit of a pounding and take a lot of load during the race. I just realised what I said there, and you could probably make that as an innuendo, but you know what I mean. Lando Norris, what are they talking about? The tyres. Hang on. Lando Norris not happy. Lando Norris not happy on the radio with his engineer. A bit of back and forth between them. Couldn't really ascertain what it was, but you could definitely tell with the tones. Right, Piastri, 8 laps remaining. P1 about to lap Nico Hulkenberg. Isaac Hadjar down there is the closest on track to another car at the moment for position. Alex Albon is looking for a place on Antonelli. He's actually gained a bit of time on Antonelli there in P9. 3 tenths back from Antonelli. Interesting that Carlos Sainz is all the way down in P13 and hasn't really been able to make any headway on this strategy today. Lance Stroll pushing up to the back of Pierre Gasly. It looks like Ollie Behrman, the way it's going at the moment, I'm barring a real drop-off in his tyres, but he is going to take this medium compound tyre to the end and have a double points finish for Haas today. Oh, Norris being told this is boring by his engineer, as Lando is complaining on the radio about his pedal going longer, that it's not brake pressure, it's the pedal going longer. So Lando's starting to feel a bit of a movement in his braking ability. So interesting conversation there between him and his engineer, but a bit sassy by Lando Norris's engineer there, which is interesting to see from them. Isaac Hadjar still trying to get past Jack Doohan. Bit of a late reaction there from Jack Doohan down into turn 14 by Isaac Hadjar. So, that could be... I'll tell you what, Jack Doohan could cause a crash here, the way that he's reacting to Isaac Hadjar. Hopefully, it won't be an issue for Isaac Hadjar getting past Jack Doohan. Liam Lawson fast approaching them as well, as he's down in 16th place. Max Verstappen, though, closing consistently that gap on Charles Leclerc, but he is running out of time, a 1.9 second. But you can see there, the last laps are all highlighted in green as we are approaching the closing stages of this race. They are starting to set fast lap after fast lap. They're starting to set PBs after PBs, and Lewis Hamilton, a fastest first sector for him there. And Norris is being reported that the brake pedal will continue to get long. Oh dear, with 7 laps remaining, could there be potentially a mechanical issue or failure here on the cards for Lando Norris? He does have, as there is a 10-second time penalty for Jack Doohan for forcing another driver off the track. And for Jack Doohan, that is made his day a little bit worse for him, down in 14th place. Jack Doohan just getting a bit too feisty in his defence by forcing another driver off the circuit. And Hadjar is still struggling to get past Jack Doohan, but he will gain positions there. But he's got Liam Lawson, who is in the bigger car, in that struggling Red Bull car, in P16 behind him. Hang on. Norris is being told to be really cautious on the brakes. Well, I tell you what, if he's being cautious on the brakes, he is gaining time on his teammate at the moment. 3 seconds back there. He's still set at 35.6 level with his team. He's quicker in the first sector by 2 tenths than his teammate. So Norris being told to be careful on the brakes. I'm not sure he's heeding that exactly. Advice from his team at the moment, as he is still trying to attack his teammates. But 7 seconds to him and George Russell behind, so he does have a nice buffer. With Charles Leclerc a further 5 seconds back from George Russell. Verstappen 1.2 seconds back from Charles Leclerc now. So with 6 laps remaining, Verstappen is just within striking distance, and you do think he is now within striking distance. He's just through turn 10, gained the DRS on Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc, who has that front wing damage, where it's been a bit of a poor showing in the race for Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton down in 6th, who had to make a forced second pit stop, while the top 5 have made only one singular pit stop. Verstappen is now on the charge. He has been for a number of laps, as there's still conversations with Norris and his engineer over the radio. Get a room, guys, get a room. George Russell, no doubt, will be fed this information by the Mercedes garage or pit wall, as there is an incident noted for Doohan moving under braking. I said he had to be careful. He's already got a 10-second time penalty, and, well, he's done it multiple times, and it seems the stewards have clocked onto it finally. When there could be another penalty coming Jack Doohan's way. Max, though, in the DRS of Charles Leclerc. Will he be able to get a move done here down into turn 1? No, he just didn't have enough to get past him. But he do think this is only a matter of time for Max Verstappen on Charles Leclerc. He's been consistently closing. He's all over the rear wing of the Ferrari. He may even have a move on Charles here through turn 3 as that Ferrari on hard compound tyres, but 2-lap younger tyres, but it seems to be they're almost older than Max Verstappen, as he's done tremendously well to manage these tyres through the second phase of this race, as Charles Leclerc is being told where his main losses are, and Charles is saying, yeah, I know, you told me about it 10 or 15 times, I know. Bit stressful on the radio for Charles Leclerc, as he is under pressure for Max Verstappen in the closing stages of this race. 5 laps left. Could Max Verstappen get a P4 here? The Ferraris, it looked like Verstappen was going to finish P6, but the Ferraris have struggled in the second phase of this race. And Verstappen, how is his traction out of turn 12? We saw Leclerc struggle in the dirty air compared to the Mercedes of George Russell, which is why he wasn't able to get past him. But Max has no such issues. He will have DRS as they head down into turn 14. And the Ferrari, he's going to have to go defensive, you would suspect, down here. But we know the Ferrari actually has pretty decent top speed when it actually gets going. So Max, it's all about the braking hard into turn 14. If he can be within half a second, 4 tenths out of turn 16, you do think and suspect that he will have an opportunity with that extra grip he has on those hards that he's managed so well in the second half of this race over Charles Leclerc. Here we go, DRS again. Can he go around the outside of Charles Leclerc here into turn 1, or will he try and unsettle him? He's a lot closer this time around. He's definitely going for it. I think he's got a head there side by side, and Max Verstappen, it depends on how hard Charles Leclerc is able to defend this. A slight slowing off the 2 cars. They were side by side through turn 2, and Max Verstappen gets the move done on Charles Leclerc, heads up into P4, and that will be a very, very good damage limitation race for Max Verstappen if Charles Leclerc doesn't come back at him as he looks to poke a nose into turn 6. Will Charles Leclerc be able to come back at Max? We will see, but I do think it's just going to be Max putting away Charles Leclerc. You can see just now losing that time through the high loaded corners of turn 7 and turn 8. And Max, no doubt, with that extra traction that he has in that Red Bull, that gap has already gone out to 9 tenths. It's already gone out to over a second in the space of just 4 corners. That is how much more grip Max Verstappen has in that very tricky and twitchy Red Bull, as they did go side by side through turn 2. As I'm watching the replay right now, as Charles Leclerc actually went very deep into turn 2, and Max executed a perfectly timed cutback through turn 2, said, thank you very much. I will see you next week. Yes, so Max Verstappen now into P4, 6.1 seconds behind George Russell now. 3 laps remaining here on including this one. Oscar Piastri is leading by 2.9 seconds to Lando Norris, who has a brake issue. He is still lapping, though, quicker than his teammate and closing in on his teammate with that brake issue that he is being told to be very careful of. It seems, as we mentioned, he is not heeding that advice at the moment. There is still potential for a late dashing of rain on the last lap. Will we see it? Will we not? Will we see a dramatic end to this Shanghai at this Shanghai circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix? George Russell P3, Verstappen P4, Ferrari 5th and 6th, where they started basically. Lewis Hamilton, not the strong performance that we saw from him yesterday in the sprint race. Not sure whether or not he got damaged from that contact from Charles Leclerc very early on in the first lap on the second corner. We will see, but yes, not the performance and the strong performance we expected from Ferrari, but still points nonetheless for them. Esteban Ocon up into P7, 42 laps on this hard compound tyres at the moment. A great showing from him, up 4 places. Antonelli, where he started. Albon just not able to close in on Antonelli, it seems, but it could be another point scored for Alex Albon here. In P9, Ollie Behrman, 4.8 seconds, 5 seconds ahead of Gasly. It is going to be a double points scoring race for the Haas team. What contrasting races that is, and contrasting weekends for the Haas team. Completely off the pace in Albert Park in Australia. Everyone thought, oh dear, what is going on there? And what a return to form it is for them here with a double point scoring result. Gasly in P11, Lance Stroll was in P12. He just cannot catch signs of weekend to forget for him, as Leclerc is actually under pressure from Yuki Tsunoda, but Yuki Tsunoda has been lapped. Who is just the biggest loser here today is Yuki Tsunoda. I just cannot believe what the RB team have done. For me, it's another spoiler 10 out of 10 weekend for Yuki Tsunoda. 4 my driver ratings will be posted later on today, so stay tuned for those. I can't believe a driver can have 2 10 out of 10 weekends personally, in my opinion, and just end up out of the points both times because of the poor strategy calls of the team. Unbelievable. But no rain is on the way at the moment as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest first sector. We are on the penultimate lap here of the Shanghai circuit. 55 out of 56 laps in this race. It's not been the most dramatic of Chinese Grand Prix. We haven't seen a safety car. There was a very high percentage that we would get one, but we haven't. We have got away with it. But it hasn't been without incident this race, though. We've seen a couple of cars spin. We've seen a number of overtakes, but it's been a bit quiet out front. Piastri has managed this race tremendously well. There were questions about his tyre management and whether or not he had improved. We have seen improvement over the past 2 years of Oscar Piastri's F1 career. He's now in his third, and of course he wants to challenge for his first ever Drivers' World Championship. He lost out on important points last time around in Australia at his home Grand Prix as we are on the final lap, and well, with that costly mistake, he was able to recover 2 important points that could be oh so important in his title challenges come the end of a very long F1 season. As Jack Doohan is reviewed, no further investigation for moving under braking. But we have just 3/4 of a lap remaining now. Oscar Piastri is leading from Lando Norris, George Russell in P3, Verstappen in P4, and he's actually closing in a little bit on George Russell. He has such good pace at the end of this race, Max Verstappen. It's just a shame that on those medium compound tyres, that Red Bull just chewed through them entirely. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, it's kind of a solid weekend for them. Of course, positives for the sprint race, but still lots of work to be done, especially when it comes to McLaren, as they are 22 and 26 seconds behind. Charles Leclerc, though, that is the real benchmark there, or comparison for Ferrari against McLaren, as he is on the same stop. Yes, he does have same strategy, on a one stop. Yes, he does have front wing damage, but it does seem he actually was quicker with shedding that little bit of weight with that front wing end play. I just want to say, guys, as we're approaching the last couple of corners here for Oscar Piastri, please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. Over 15,000 of you in here. Unbelievable figures we have achieved here this weekend. But Oscar Piastri, the Australian, he was gutted after last weekend at his home Grand Prix. It was a costly mistake, but there is no such costly mistakes here today, as he has led from his first pole position in McLaren from start to finish, uneventful, finishing 9-10 seconds ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. He had him in his back pocket throughout. He controlled this race perfectly, and I think the critics have been answered by that performance of Oscar Piastri. Yes, he can manage a race. Yes, he can look after his tyres. And I tell you what, it is definitely championship on between the two McLaren teammates, as they are quite clearly the best car on the grid at the moment. Lando Norris in P2. Will not be happy with P2 considering the car he has underneath him, but still, it's much better than what Piastri was able to achieve last time out in Australia. George Russell quietly going about his business in P3. If Mercedes sort their act out and they actually provide a half-decent car, or they have a half-decent car, a car later on in this season, I'll tell you what, George Russell could be one to watch for a title challenge. Max Verstappen, as always, maximising that car as much as possible. It was nowhere in the first stint, but he brought it back home on the hard compound tyre by some beautiful tyre management and some good pace in his back pocket in reserve for the closing stages. Secure P4. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton swap positions there. Very, very fortunate at the second corner that Charles Leclerc did not take Lewis Hamilton out of this race and at least at the bare minimum give him a puncture. Very fortunate for the two Ferrari drivers, and I think Charles Leclerc is very lucky to finish where he did in P5 after that first lap incident. But still, lots of work to be done for Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. We'll see if Lewis had a bit of damage through that contact, but definitely seemed to struggle more on the tyres today than he did in clean air yesterday. Esteban Ocon, round of applause for Esteban Ocon in P7. It should be P8 because Yuki should be in P7, but Esteban Ocon in P7. A great point scoring finish hit for him there. A great drive on that hard compound tyre, taking it 45 laps. Antonelli finished where he started. Potentially could have finished behind the Ferraris, maybe even troubled them if it wasn't for a poor strategy call by Mercedes and allowing him to get sufficiently undercut by the midfield. Alex Albon stayed out there for so long. He was the first driver really to stay out there and commit to the one stop, and he is in P9, another second weekend in a row where he has scored points. Ollie Behrman, after, once again, the poor weekend he had in Australia. Dry conditions here this weekend. It's been much better for him. 7 places gained. Some good on-track overtakes as well. P10 for him, rounding off the points. Pierre Gasly, that qualifying pace of the Alpine just letting him down as he had much better race pace, finishes just a position short, gaining another 5 positions in the race, compared exactly like the sprint race yesterday over in P11. Lance Stroll is in P12. He tried to go hang for a safety car, but just couldn't do it. It did not arrive. Carlos Sainz, a poor weekend for him, really. He has only gained a couple of positions on circuit due to Yuki Tsunoda's issues with the team strategy calls and Fernando Alonso's retirement. Sainz needs to improve. Of course, still getting up to speed with the Williams. Like comparisons have been made for many a driver on the grid who have moved teams, but you would expect him to be a little bit closer than to Alex Albon, his teammate, who has definitely hit the ground running this season. Isaac Hadjar, another one, lost a few positions at the start of the race. It's a solid showing for him, but yes, look, you can see there, the 2 biggest losers out on this circuit, position-wise, are the 2 RB teams. Just didn't commit to the one stop. They should have committed to the one stop, like so many did, and that's ruined their race. Liam Lawson up 5 positions, better for him, got some confidence in the car, no doubt, hopefully, but not really much to shout about. Jack Doohan in P16 got a 10-second time penalty for forcing another driver off the track. Bortoletto and Hulkenberg, a day to forget for them. Hulkenberg, still no idea how he lost 7 positions at the start of the race. They did not show a replay of it. I will let you guys know exactly what happened there, but then, yes, doesn't seem like they had the pace. Anyway, and Yuki is just... How can you have a 10 out of 10 performance and just throw that away? 0 out of 10 for the RB strategy team. 0 out of 10 for the RB strategy team. They are the biggest losers today. Unbelievable. I cannot believe Yuki has had 2 race weekends in a row where he is controlling the race perfectly. And I want an explanation. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for everyone who subscribed. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. We hit over 15,000 viewers in this race. We are going to just do a quick poll of driver of the day, so let me do that for you. Over 11,000. I forgot to end the poll of who was going to win. Overwhelmingly, it was Oscar Piastri. Over 11,000 votes for that. That's interesting. So, driver of the day. Who do we put? I think Piastri. Obviously, it wasn't very... I mean, he just controlled the race. I think Ocon, definitely. I think Behrman. And I'm not sure I can give it to Max, you know. I think I'm going to give it to... I'm going to put Yuki as well. I don't think Max's driver of the day performance, he maximised it, but I feel like... it's a tough... Do you know, it's a bit of a tough one. I feel like Yuki should have deserved a driver of the day, unsubbed. I'll tell you what, I'll remove Yuki. I'll remove Yuki and I'll put Max. But it's probably just going to be a popularity content, isn't it? That's the problem when you include the big drivers. I think, to be honest, I think Ocon is probably driver of the day. Great performance from him. I would arguably actually give it to Yuki. I think Yuki's done tremendously well in that race until they decided to just pit him. Just completely throw it away. I just don't know what they're doing there. Don't know what they were doing. Stroll driver of the day, and that's weird. Was he driver of the day? No. Piastri, 47%. Max managed tyres better than other front runners, to be fair. He managed them better than Leclerc and Hamilton, really. He really struggled on the medium compound tyres. The second phase of the race was strong for Max. The first phase wasn't. That's only why I'm not giving it to Max. I think the first phase... Yeah, I mean, it's due to the car. He kind of just had to suck it up, really, and just do what he had to do. I'm not saying it's a poor performance by any means. I just don't think it's driver of the day performance. Personally, I think I'd give it to Ocon or Yuki. Behrman's a good shout, actually. Behrman's a good shout on the alternate strategy. Did a very good job. Actually got a lot of overtakes done. He was very aggressive on the brakes down to turn 14. I could arguably give it to Behrman as well. But overwhelmingly, it's Piastri at the moment, 49%. I mean... If there were questions, of course, about Oscar Piastri, can he manage a race? Can he see out tyre management? There's always been that question mark. And he did improve last year. He showed improvements. And today, he definitely answered that. So, Yuki did great, but Max really did wonders with the way his car was behaving before the race. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Max is maximising that car with what he can. So, driver standings. Yes, let's have a look at the driver standings, guys. So, let's have a look at the championship. So, let's move that out the way. And we can see here what that has done to the championship standings. I said to you, keep an eye out on George Russell, by the way, quietly going about his business. So Lando Norris increases his championship lead. He is now 12 points ahead of Max Verstappen with 44 points. Max Verstappen gains another important 12 points there with 36. He's 1 point ahead of George Russell, who's got 35. Piastri up 2 places after gaining 25 points. Remember, no point now for fastest lap. It's 25 points is the maximum you can gain on a race. Of course, the sprint race points have been added, but you can see Piastri 34 points there. Antonelli down a position with P8 with 18 points. Leclerc is on 18 as well. Hamilton on 17 points. Albon is in P8 on 12 points, by the way. Lance Stroll is 9th in the championship. Lance Stroll, 9th in the championship, in the top 10. This doesn't feel right, guys. Esteban Ocon jumps up into P10 with 6 points. Nico Hulkenberg, no points for him today. Yuki, how is Yuki on 3 points? Yuki should be on minimum. What should he have got last week? He should have got easily a P7. He should have had 2 P7s in a row. P7 gets you what? P7 is where Ocon finished 6th. He should be on 12 points. He should be ahead of Albon. Unbelievable. But he's on 3 points. Well, he should be on 15 because of the sprint race yesterday. Ollie Behrman gains an important point as well, getting his championship up and running. And then Gasly, who just fell short once again. 2 weekends in a row, Gasly's finished 11th. Yes, 11th. P14. Sainz, no points for Sainz yet, guys. No points for Sainz. What are your thoughts on that? Isaac Hadjar in P16. Liam Lawson, of course, no points for him. We know how his career F1 season's going at the moment. Jack Doohan, no points. Bortoletto as well. And Fernando Alonso, no points. Crashed out in Australia and then not a point scoring position yesterday. He did finish P10 but didn't score points in the sprint race because only the top 8 score points. And then today a retirement. So... Piastri driver of the day, race rating poll. Yeah, we're going to end driver of the day. Overwhelmingly, it is Oscar Piastri. I can see why that's given. Personally, I think it's Ocon. I think Ocon had a great drive. Right, race rate. What do you... race rating. Where do we go here? So, I can only give... I don't think... 1 to 4. Unfortunately, there's only 4 options. So 3 to 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and 9 to 10. Oh, and 9 to 10. There we go. Start poll. What was that race for you? 3 out of 10. It was quite boring, wasn't it? Really. There wasn't a lot of it went on. I tried my best to keep it interesting for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the commentary, as always. Continue to hit that subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. Over 2,000 likes. We hit 15,000 viewers, peak viewership here today. That is unbelievable for a second race of the season. This season's going to get bigger and better, guys. So a big, big thank you for everyone who's tuned in. If you're new to the channel, it's much appreciated. And of course, those of you who continue to keep returning and choosing myself over to enjoy your F1 weekends, much, much appreciated. Neville, I'm not a Lewis fan, but he's a phenomenal driver and I don't understand the remarks about him. I understand he always gets blame, everything but him, and he's still a great racer. Yeah, look, I mean, it's a case, it's just F1 in general now. It's so tribal, it's so fickle. God forbid a driver makes a mistake. God forbid a driver struggles with a car, you know. So, yeah, we always try and keep things level-headed and balanced over here. I'll give criticism where I think it's due, and I'll give praise where I think it's due. And I always try and back it up as to why I'm thinking the way that I am. But yeah, you go on social media and things like that, people are just very quick to hate. Unfortunately, that's just the internet, isn't it, really? It's just the internet, so. Race commentary, 10 out of 10. Race progression, 3 out of 10. Cheers. McLaren will win both championships, but Hamilton looks dangerous. I mean, look, at the moment, they're clearly still the quickest car. If we look at the gaps, there, Russell finished 11 seconds behind Piastri. The Ferraris finished 23 seconds behind Piastri. Now, Lando's lap time there it should have been closer, but he was having issues with the brake pedal in the closing stages of the race, so that's obviously why he backed off a bit. That's some margin. But what we at least do have is thankfully, McLaren at least have 2 drivers who are gunning for that World Championship, and they should be allowed to fight. We are going to get some races where one of them dominates over the other, but I'm sure we'll get plenty of races as well where they are going toe-to-toe. And plus, if they collide or they have issues with one another, it's going to allow the drivers behind an opportunity. And I do think Ferrari will make progression. I think Mercedes and Red Bull, there's definitely improvements to make there. But yeah. I appreciate it, Mark. I hope you have a speedy recovery, buddy. Hope you have a speedy recovery. Lewis needs to be slandered because he uses... Is Max still complaining about other teams having imaginary mini DRS? No. No. However, the tests are going to be even more stringent and strong in Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. So we don't have a race next weekend. We have a break. Thankfully, I'll be able to get some sleep over the course of next weekend, and I won't be getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning. But yeah, we then head to Suzuka, which is another early morning for me in the UK, and then we head back to Bahrain and Saudi, where they should have been at the start of the season, but because of Ramadan, they were moved further back. So what is the constructor standings? Yeah, you can have a look at that again. So the constructor standings are, let me just move that out of the way. The constructor standings, as it currently stands, is McLaren at the top with 78 points. Mercedes 53, Red Bull 36, and that's all scored by Max. Shock horror. Ferrari 35 points. Williams 12 points, also scored by one driver. Same with Aston Martin. Haas scored double points today, so they leapfrog from the bottom to 7th, and Alpine are now 10th. Oof, oof. There will be tests done after the race for the wings. Who knows? There will be, yes, but I don't think. I think they did. I think they tested them after qualifying, and they're not able to change them after qualifying because they're in Parc Ferme. So I think they all passed. 2:49 a.m. Vong. Good. Thank you for tuning in, man. What's Suzuka UK time? Similar to this. Yeah, very similar to this. If I just double check, I think it's like half free practice. Let's have a look. Half free. Yeah, practice 1 is half free. Practice 2 is 7 a.m. The same again for practice 3 and qualifying. And then the race is at 6 a.m. rather than 7. So similar times to China. And then we head to Bahrain, where it's a nice afternoon sessions for us here in the UK. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Does make it a bit more difficult for me to do FP1 though, because of work on a Friday. But yeah, so overwhelmingly, 30. Oh, I say it's close. Close between a 1 out of 4 race rating and a 35% for 5 to 6. I'd say it's probably a 5. I think it was a 5 out of 10, to be honest with you. So, thank you, Joe. Much appreciated. Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate all your lovely comments and glad you've been enjoying the streams. Even if it is a bit boring, the race itself, I do try and obviously keep it as exciting as possible for you and see where there's areas of interest and intrigue. Yeah, not every single race on a 24-race calendar is going to be interesting. A little bit disappointed, really, that the hard compound tyre lasted as long as it did. The medium, looking at the medium, I really thought, we're going to get a 2-stop. It just didn't get it. So it's a real shame. Do we know what Hamilton pitted? Issues handling the tyres? Yeah, still don't know yet, Joe. Still don't know. Probably won't know for a little bit yet. So we'll see. Maybe he got damage. I think maybe the changes that he made, he complained that the car was a little bit more oversteery after some changes they made from the sprint race on setup. So maybe because of that, yeah, he was just struggling with the tyres more. So, Scott, what happened to Yuki? Oh, don't get me started. What happened to Yuki? Well, I'll tell you what happened to Yuki. Yuki was up in... You can see what happened to Yuki with this race trace here. So, that's what happened to Yuki. Running comfortably in P8 behind Lance Stroll, who was still yet to pit, going long on the hard compound tyre. Comfortably had Esteban Ocon behind him. No worry whatsoever. And they decided to pit him from P8. And he came out in P15. He then picked up some unknown front wing failure. And... like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why? Can we move that up? Oh, we can condense that. There we go, yeah. Like, look at that drop-off. Why? He was running comfortably all race. Yuki doesn't fit the RB. Can't see above the... Ferrari's strategy today was horrendous for both drivers, especially Lewis Hamilton. He still had life in his tyres, so I really don't understand the extra stop. Yeah, Darren, I really can't tell you. I don't know. I haven't heard anything in relation to why Lewis was made to have a second pit stop. I mean, put it this way. Charles Leclerc, when you look back at the highlights, Charles Leclerc is super fortunate he didn't give Lewis Hamilton a front right puncture. Like, Lewis wasn't to know that he was there. Lewis was entitled to kind of take his line as he did. Charles Leclerc really stuck his nose in where it didn't belong. And he gave Lewis potentially some damage. I'm not sure. Could have given him a front right rear puncture. And it's interesting that Charles, even with that front wing damage, was still quick. So if we have a look at where's Esteban Ocon, so we can look at where is Esteban Ocon? Ocon had a good one. Look at Esteban Ocon there, running P10 for most of it and then ended up P7. Not bad for him. The race has finished. Yes, the race has finished. But why did the Ferrari not swap them at the last lap? That's also an interesting point as well. Yeah, Acano. I'm not sure. I'm intrigued to hear the faults of Leclerc and the faults of Fred Vasseur and Lewis Hamilton to see what happened. But yeah, really interesting. Thank you, Stuffeyy. You did better than Oscar Piastri. I don't think I did quite as good as Oscar Piastri. But look, big thank you for everyone who tunes into these watch shows. I know I sound like a broken record. And if you could continue to hit that like and subscribe button. We hit over 37,000 subs. Thank you very much. I think we had 1,000 subs this stream, if memory serves me correctly. So, yeah, continue to hit that subscribe button, guys. As always, we'll be back next week. Fast approaching 40k. What do we have peak-wise viewership? 15,674 is what we had peak viewership. And I think we were consistently at around 10,000 viewers. So I cannot ask for more than that. Well, I can always ask for more than that, but you know what I mean. Missing end player Charles front wing helps to balance the car. That's why he was fast. Potentially. How does Ferrari win sprint and set record on track and get 5 to 6 serious questions? Because the race is very different. Not the problem with sprints, but what happens with the sprint races now is that the sprint races, ultimately, you have one practice session to dial in the setup. That's it. Some people can get it right, some people can get it wrong. But they then have a whole stint, shall we say, in an essence, of data gathering that teams will get, and they'll make changes. They'll use the data they've gathered, make changes, and improve the car's performance for the race. Now, McLaren definitely sorted their act together. Mercedes sorted their act together, sorted their act out as well, and it was a lot closer. And track position was certainly key here. We saw in the sprint race, we got a preview of what the race might be like in regards to overtakes at the front, where the performance is, relatively speaking, apart from the McLaren's, close between Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. It's tricky to overtake because of the dirty air. And yeah, clean air is king. Just look at Piastri. We saw Norris catch up to the back of Piastri a couple of times around that 2.5 second mark, at 2 second mark. And he's already starting to feel the dirty air and he can't get any closer. And especially with them, what kind of ruined this race, really, to be honest with you, is the fact that the hard compound tyre lasted so long. If the hard compound tyre degraded more and it was going to be a 2-stop race, we would have seen the drivers push more and lean on the tyres more, and then I think we would have at least would have seen maybe a better race towards the end, or the second half of the race anyway. But because they were trying to eke out a 1-stop, they had to be so careful in how much they pushed on the tyres. So yeah, Lando, that's why Lando was getting Piastri to push. I don't think Lando ever really had, by the sounds of it, never really had an opportunity of catching Piastri because he knew he was trying to make it to the end. And that's just a real shame for us fans, ultimately. So yeah. What happened with Hamilton? Did get a chance to see. Yeah, just slower today than he was in the sprint race. Still don't know. We'll see. We will see what the reasoning is for Lewis Hamilton and his poor... I wouldn't say poor performance, but not as strong of a performance, especially compared to Leclerc. I mean, he's been stronger than Leclerc all weekend, and then today, I don't know. I mean, he got asked to swap positions. I'm intrigued to know why he got asked to swap positions as well, because he was catching George at that time, and then they swapped, and then they didn't swap at the end. So I'm a bit intrigued to know what Ferrari's thinking was, their thought process behind it all. So we ban hard tyres? No, we don't ban hard tyres. It's just the medium compound just was kind of perfect, I guess, in an essence of how it degraded, but the hards just didn't, which is a real shame. And this track surface, newly relayed track surface this week, which Pirelli said they weren't prepared for, which is a real shame. They increased the tyre pressures as well after the sprint race, which maybe had an effect on how the tyres performed and lasted a bit longer. So, yeah, a bit of a shame. Very happy with Slowson. Now I'm preparing my boots to give him a mess. Mana did it again. Fell asleep during the race. Oh, dear. Well, to be honest, he didn't really miss too much. 5 out of 6. It's close between a 1 out of 4, a 1 to 4 or a 5 out of 6 for everything, for the ratings of the race. So, yeah, I can see that. I'm surprised. Who gave it a 9 out of 10? Who gave it a 9 or a 10 out of 10? Have you never watched? Is this your first F1 race? Leclerc was quicker and close to Russell in a few laps, but could not overtake Russell. True, when he overtook him, but I guess what my question is about that, Mark, is primarily at the time Lewis was catching George. So if Lewis wasn't catching George, I could understand, but Lewis was closing the gap up on George at the time, and he was 1.8 seconds, 1.7 seconds back from George, I think it was, when he was told to move over and swap positions. So that's my only question, is like, well, okay, at least let them catch up to George. It looks like Lewis is catching George. Why swap now? So the three drivers that surprised you the most are Ocon, Behrman and Stroll. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Stroll had a good race today. They tried something different. Goalhand for a safety car didn't arrive. He had some decent pace at the end on the mediums. But yeah, that Aston Martin doing better than I thought. I tell you someone I'm disappointed in, Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz. So, you thought it was for my commentary? Oh, thank you. 10 out of 10 for my commentary. Thank you. No, just an Aussie fan. 10 out of 10 for the result. That's fairs. That's fairs. I do understand your rating for a race can be skewed based upon which driver you support or team you support and where they finish. Appreciate your opinion. Thank you. You give it a 5 because Piastri won and Behrman got a point. Otherwise, it was a 3. For me, I think it was a middle of the road race, maybe a 4. Actually, I'm going to downgrade it to a 4. I don't feel like I can give it a 5 because I do think it was quite boring. There was some overtakes in the midfield. Yeah, that hard compound tyre, the way it just didn't degrade, ruined the race really for us. Yeah, I think the first stint on the mediums was interesting, but then after that, yeah, wasn't great. I never like races that end up being like an easy one stop. I don't like races like this where it becomes a one stop. So Sainz still scared of upshifting. Double points in your fantasy league because of Piastri. I triple captain Norris this weekend. I really thought Norris was just going to win it. So, and I think you've got to use your triple captain when you think they're going to a team is going to dominate. So, not too sad with having Mercedes as my team. Williams, unfortunately, is my second team. I didn't have Albon. I had Sainz. Who did I also have? I had Yuki. Have I got Yuki in my team? No, I've got Hadjar in my team. I think I have. So I've lost a few points. Yeah, unfortunately, not as good this week. You thought it was a 4. I think most people fell asleep during the race and they likely wouldn't miss much. Yeah, no, I agree. Tsunoda will be whinge of the day, no doubt. You genuinely can't keep my eyes open. I'm going off to bed. Thank you for modding as always, Taco. Much appreciated for keeping the chat lovely and clean. I was trying to keep an eye on chat and answered a few questions and stuff throughout. Of course, no doubt it was going very quickly. I do apologise if I don't have an opportunity to catch your comments during the live stream. As always, I stay around afterwards like we're doing now, having a chit-chat, taking in everything that happened in the race, listening to some driver interviews. So if you have some questions that you just want to ask my opinion on, I'm not going to get every question right. I'm not going to know every answer. But yeah, hold on to it and stick around at the end so that we can have a chat. From where I can access the layout of times, this is multi-viewer, Kilash. Verstappen was right on his declaration. He'd have won if everyone in front of him DNF'd. True. I'm right below you in the standings, Tyler. Oh, am I really? Oh, there we go. Live timing's gone. Live timing's just gone. So let's bring up the championship standings again. So we've actually got something to look at. But how important is that points advantage? So he's got 12 points over Piastri, Norris. So 10 points, over Piastri. So how important is that going to be, that first race of the season, come the end of the year? We'll see. I mean, Verstappen is just maximising that car, isn't he? So still can't get over Antonelli driver of the day. He did fine, but that's about it. Did he get driver of the day? What, for the F1 vote? Really? Antonelli got driver of the day? I mean, I wouldn't say so, no. Tsunoda is quite superior than Lawson, but H. Marco knows that his circus is near to fall. Go Tsunoda. Look, we've had the conversation about Tsunoda and Lawson a number of times. I do think that there's a number of on-track reasons as to why you would overlook Tsunoda. He's doing very good this year, but it primarily comes down to politics and business, the fact that he is so highly linked and tied with Honda and that Honda partnership coming to an end. Yeah, they didn't want to put him in there. So they wanted to I think they kind of want to distance themselves from Honda, especially with the Ford partnership. So that RB's 4th best car right now, totally worst of the bests. What do you mean best of the rest? Do you mean the RB or the Red Bull, do you mean? Antonelli is P5 in the standings and Lewis is P7. Yeah, it's because he's P4 last week, wasn't it? Alonso's kind of holding your fantasy down. It's tricky, you know. It's tricky, the fantasy teams. I'll maybe have a look at it in a minute. Arigato, writing from Tokyo. Oh, nice one, Project. Heading to your ends next week. Or not next week, the weekend after. Looking forward to that. Always love Suzuka. I just hope that they get the right tyre choice correct. We'll see whether it's going to be wet conditions or not as well. Always due a bit of rain, aren't we, in Suzuka? So, Max had the 4th fastest lap of the race. Hamilton first, of course, with 2nd stop. Max again maximising that. Why I love him, not because you're Dutch. No, I agree. There's lots of things to like about Max out on track, and he's doing what he needs to do. I mean, who knows? Red Bull may get their act together and sort that car out. They may sort out the development of it, and it gets in a window where Max can take it. I mean, we've seen all Max really needs right now is a car that is just a bit better on the tyres. Just a little bit less of, obviously Lawson as well, but just needs it to be just a little bit less of a handful. Just enough so that he can manage the tyres more and lean on the tyres a bit more. Because that's why McLaren's so superior at the moment, is that they're just able to look after their tyres so much better. And I guess that's the case with every regulation, really. Of course, there's always like top speed and stuff, but the cars are not like the top speed and horsepower. They're all very similar, and their cornering ability, but it's just the tyres, how twitchy the car is, and yeah, the McLaren is obviously the most well balanced at the moment. Where do I think Yuki will end up next year? That's a great question, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he'll be on the grid for next year, because I'm pretty sure most of the seats are wrapped up. The only seat that isn't wrapped up is like the Red Bull seats, as always, but he's not going to stay at Red Bull for another season. His contract is up this year. He'll be leaving the system, rightfully so. Could be Cadillac. That's really it. Maybe he ends up being a reserve driver at Aston Martin. Not that he should be. But I think, unfortunately for him, I think all the seats are basically solidified for next season. Cadillac, maybe? Maybe Cadillac decide to go for Yuki? I don't know. But I've got a feeling he'll be missing out next year. And then it'll be 2027, where a lot of drivers have their contracts up for renewal at the end of next season. At the end of the first year of the regs, that's where he will probably have an opportunity of negotiating a seat onto the grid. Please, no more McLaren wins. Please beat them. That's how we felt about Max and Red Bull for the last 3 seasons. What happens if both Mercedes drivers finish better than Ferrari drivers this year? I mean, if they do, then fair play to Mercedes. It clearly shows that they've finally figured something out in the car. Took them 3 years to do it. And just shows that Ferrari maybe potentially went down the wrong development path this year. There are still questions. There are still valid questions that need to be held to Ferrari, and they need to be held accountable if this season doesn't work out well enough for them. Because while they are putting a lot of resource into 2026, they changed the concept of their car this year in the last year of a regulation set. Now, you would think they had a good platform to go into this season in the way that they ended last season. And they changed a lot of their car. They went from the push rod to a pull rod system in their suspension, which is massive. That's a massive change in concept, and everything has kind of been worked around that suspension design. And it's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it doesn't work out for them and they end up being consistently like the 3rd fastest car, like, what have you done? What have you done? So, I don't think Tsunoda couldn't get a seat if Lawson keeps sucking no matter how many races they give him. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they will. I just still don't think Red Bull will give Hadjar. They just won't give Tsunoda a seat. They've already moved on from Tsunoda. They're already looking at Arvid Lindblad. That's who they're looking at. He's in F2 at the moment. He's a young lad. He's very highly rated. That's their next prodigy. That's the one they're looking at next. So, can Russell win the World Drivers' Championship? I mean, if Mercedes give Russell a decent enough car, I mean, he's plugging away and getting points at the moment. But if he's able to sneak a few wins, it depends on how dominant McLaren are going to be for most of this season. But what may play into other drivers' hands, and especially while McLaren are dominant, is that not one driver's going to win all these races. Where Max last season had the dominant car for the first good few races, he won all of them. He didn't have race wins being taken away from him by Sergio Perez, whereas Norris has Piastri alongside him. Yes, Norris makes some mistakes, we get that, but if Oscar isn't there today and it's someone else of Perez's level compared to how Max was, Lando's got 2 out of 2 wins. He's got maximum points. He's got already quite a sizable advantage. So that's what's going to keep this championship interesting this year. Is those two. This is why having 2 number 1 drivers just doesn't work. It just doesn't work if you're a team principal, because you have drivers taking points off of each other. Now, it may work for the constructors eventually, but for the Drivers' Championship, which also has a lot of marketing value, arguably more marketing value to it than winning the Constructors' Championship. Yes, there's prize money for the Constructors' Championship, but the Drivers, I think, overall is more lucrative to win. That's why Red Bull don't really care too much about their second driver in the Constructors so much, because marketing Max as a multiple world champion and just as a world champion in general from his first time, they probably made a shed load of money, more money than they would have done winning the Constructors. So, change Ferrari makes difference in front tyre control, so cannot rely on setups from last year. Yeah, exactly. The suspension change might be for data for next regs, change now rather than 26. Never thought about it that way, Aaron. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. So, Russell is the man, but he needs to be in Williams or Ferrari. No. I mean, look, there is a lot of pressure on George Russell this year. I've said that from the outset. It's been well documented that Mercedes, Toto Wolff, have courted Max Verstappen. They'd love Max Verstappen in the team, and no doubt Max Verstappen and his camp probably have one eye on Mercedes as well, because if things don't work out at Red Bull, they'll be wanting to go to a team that is going to be at the front of the grid. And George Russell is out of contract, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to check myself here. I'm going to fact check myself. I'm pretty sure George Russell doesn't have a contract for next season. I think his contract ends this year. He signed a 2-year deal, but they haven't extended it to 2026. I could be wrong. Yes, he signed a 2-year contract extension in 2023 for 24 and 25. George Russell does not have a contract heading into 2026. So he is fighting for his F1 career right now. And at the moment, he started off very well. So there is a lot of pressure on George. A lot of pressure. And he's started off very well. He's done what he needed to do thus far. So, George Russell, Max Verstappen swap. Imagine. Potentially. Yeah. Could be. You're so excited once again we get in the non-early race starts. But in all seriousness, it was a good race. It was all right. It was okay. Not great. I mean, if I was watching it on TV, I probably would have ended up scrolling through my phone and losing interest. So I hope you guys didn't do that necessarily with my stream, and I kept it entertaining for you. How long would it take for Red Bull to bounce back if Max leaves? Oh, I think it could take them quite some time. So this is the theory. This is the thing, isn't it, about their second driver or their second car, shall we say? Because the problem Red Bull have and why they can't treat their second car. I mean, in the short term, it works for them, having the car solely developed around Max, because he is their quickest driver. He's a multiple world champion, and if they can win him more world championships, it, one, keeps him at the team longer, and two, it's more money for them because, as I just mentioned, you can have it's more lucrative for them. But if Max ever leaves, you've then got 2 cars that are specifically designed around a driver who has a very unique driving style. So much so that good drivers, these are not bad drivers, I've said it before, these are not bad drivers who jump into that Red Bull car and just become terrible all of a sudden. No, it's because that car, they just have no confidence in it. It's the same as Alex Albon mentioned with the sensitivity thing of on your mouse. You try and play Call of Duty on the highest sensitivity possible, you'll hardly get any kills. You'll do terrible. But if you dial it back a bit to a sensitivity that suits your style, you'll do a lot more, a lot better. And that's the same as driving. and racing. And that's what's happened with Max's car, and people are getting into it and they're just like, oh my god, I have no confidence in this car, I can't control it, it wants to go 10 different directions. So if Max left, you've then got to replace Max with another driver, obviously, who comes in, who has their own driving style and has to adapt to a driving style that evidently 4 good racing drivers have been unable to do. And we've seen from Liam Lawson, who is not a bad driver, he's a good driver. We saw from Sergio Perez, we saw from Gasly, we saw from Albon, that they'd struggled to get that car into Q2, let alone Q3, let alone score any points. So, yeah, it would hurt the team massively because they've got all their eggs in the Verstappen basket. And that's why they don't care about really the second car being as slow as it is right now. And that's why they bat off the questions of Sergio Perez and things like that and so forth. But it depends on what they want to do. It depends on what the brand wants to do. Is it damaging the brand, having a driver not make it out of Q1? Right, Fred Vasseur is being interviewed right now, guys. I just want to hear what he has to say. I just interviewed Charles Leclerc, but I didn't hear too much from him. But I want to hear about Fred Vasseur. Hang on. So he said it's very bizarre. On one side of the garage, i.e. Leclerc, we had good pace and we showed good tyre management, kinda. Without the front wing end plate, was better than Lewis's, who was normal. So Lewis didn't have any damage. So basically, he's summing it up there. Lewis didn't have any damage. Very different to yesterday. Obviously they were in dirty air, but the front wing end plate actually made the car better by having the how do you give you the transcripts? So he's basically summed up by Charles Leclerc having that damage to the front wing and losing the front wing end plate, it improved the car's performance. And Lewis, with kind of the same setup, struggled more, and they're not entirely sure why. So, yeah, very interesting, very bizarre. You haven't watched since the hybrid era came in and it's still boring. I need to go back to fast light cars, bring back refueling and stop with the boring tyres. Oof. Harsh words there, words there. Leclerc badmouths the Ferrari car, bye-bye Charles. I mean, it's definitely something not right there. Yeah. Ferrari logic. So it'd be kind of post-Vettel era where Red Bull was figuring things out. Yeah, probably. But even worse than the post-Vettel era, I think. Because the post-Vettel era, they still scored points and they still scored podiums. There was the odd race win, wasn't there? But it would be even worse if Max was to leave. And it was in the current state that car is in right now. So, yeah. They have to do something in regards to gearing the development of that second car more towards Liam. However, what that does, that costs more money. That's more resource to try and develop the car in a certain direction. Whereas if you're just repeating it on the same car, then it's easier from like a manufacturing and an engineering perspective. So V10, brum brum. It's definitely not good over a full lap. That can get a driver sacked on the Scuderia team. Ooh. There's no such thing as Ferrari logic. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, maybe a good car in clean air, but not so good in dirty air. But yeah, Red Bull Racing had the Renault engine as well. That's true. I mean, it's not to say this is the worry for Red Bull with Ford, isn't it? How is Ford going to get on? Ford hasn't been in F1 for quite some time. How are they going to fare with this new engine? It could blow up every other race. So, but yeah. Oh, 20 past 9. Doesn't feel like it's 20 past 9. Feels like it should be a lot later than that. We've had 150,000 views on this stream, by the way, guys. Thank you. What does it take to fix a tractor car? Oh my god, that could be 1,000,001 things. It could be an absolute 1,000,001 things. But Yeah, we head to Suzuka next time out. What is the... I mean, can you really see what the forecast is going to be like 2 weeks in advance at Suzuka? Suzuka weather. Bit of rain next week. Let's have a look at the forecast. Is it going to rain? Do they even go 2 weeks in advance? I'm not sure. Oh, they do. Next 10 days. Showers are forecast at the moment on the Friday and Saturday. Then the race is mostly sunny on the Sunday. That's what's forecast at the moment, but that's so far in advance. So could change. Great numbers, more subs needed. Yes, guys, please continue to hit that subscribe button. Oh, we've got 8 more subs until 37,800. Yeah, I don't know what we started the stream with. What did we start the stream with? Hang on, I can let you guys know. I was on 36,873, and we're now on 37,792. So that's 1,100 subs that we've had this stream. Holy moly. Holy moly. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. It's like 5 AM where you live. It's fine, buddy. It's absolutely fine. I've been up considerably early most of this weekend. It was nice to actually get 6 hours of sleep in earlier on. Cheers, Andy. Thank you, man. If you put you in the second Red Bull car, I would literally do as good as Lawson. I think you'd probably do worse, Tyler. You'd probably bin it straight away coming out the pit lane. But yeah, Lawson. Let's talk Lawson's. He made up 5 positions. He started on the alternate strategy. I'm not sure how many of those positions were actually on track overtakes. His race pace was off of max. Let's see if I can get lap time series. So, oh, here we go. So we can check lap times here. Let's have a look, shall we, at lap times. So we can compare to max, can't we? Oh, God, what has just happened there? What has just happened there? Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry if this is a bit overwhelming right now. What's happened? Right, there we go. There we go. Right, so we want to see kind of pace of Lawson. So Lawson is there. So he was doing on the hard compound tyre 36 freeze. So this is really where he pitted. So 36 freeze, 36s, 36, mid 36s. And then he did 37s at the end. So mid 36s creeping into 37s at the end, pretty much. Fastest lap of a 35.9. Max was doing 37s to start off with. It's big tyre management. Then 36s, low 36s, crept into the 35s there at the end. So he's about a second quicker than Lawson at the same stage of the race. Lap 49. Lap 50, 35.6. Lawson's doing 37, 35, 36. Low 36s into the 35s. So yeah, he's about a second off the pace of Verstappen in that race. Really, not good, is it? Don't all the manufacturers make twin turbo V8 engines? Put them in and make the cars 20% plus shorter and a bit narrower, then we get more overtaking on tracks. It'd be more exciting. Potentially. Lawson lap times on average about 0.4 to 0.6 off, I think, out of my head. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it here. I think it's a bit more than that. I think it's nearly a second for the most part. There are some laps where he's... I mean, Lawson, I guess... Okay, if you're comparing to Max, because it is obviously Max, but... If you want to take a bit of stock, I guess you could compare to Charles Leclerc. A bit of positive news for Lawson is that similar-ish lap times to Charles Leclerc. That's not too bad, really. Obviously, it's not the same as Max, but we know Max is always going to be considerably quicker. So it looks like you could see here, Charles Leclerc was doing 37s on the hards, then creeping into the 36s, getting into the low 36s, and then towards the end, at the closing stages, it started to creep up. Lawson was doing a lot better, although he was on newer hards. That's also the theory. That's also the thing as well, is that they put him on fresher hards. But there is definitely some positive data, I think, to take from that, from Liam Lawson, when you compare it to the Ferraris. Let's have a look at Antonelli. Antonelli doing high 36s, mid 36s as well. Lawson's fastest lap was a 35.9. Antonelli's fastest lap was on the last lap where he had the lowest amount of fuel as well, which was a 36.0. 36.1 was Charles Leclerc's fastest lap. So there's some positives there for Lawson in this race trim, I think, for sure. But compared to Max, he's definitely off the pace. That's understandable. We knew that was going to happen. But I think when you're comparing it to like competitors and comparing it to the other drivers you'd expect for him to be fighting against, like, that's a much better performance for him. On paper and where he finished and where he started, no. But he is able to get a hand, like the sprint race yesterday, he is able to get more under control of that car and more of a control of that car when it's got a higher fuel load and in race trim than it does in low fuel conditions. So sorry, I'm just trying to make this a bit more presentable for you guys so you're not like looking at everything there. So let's bring that down. Can I move over here? Yeah, so you want to see Gasly's... I just want to move over. There we go. Gasly and Doohan. Let's have a look at Gasly and Doohan. So, fastest lap was almost identical. Actually, Doohan's had the fastest lap compared to Gasly, 1/1000th of a second quicker. You can see there. We can see. Let me move you guys up there. We can see the 36s, mid 36s pretty much for a lot of the race here. 37s into the 36s. Doohan, 38s, 38, 37, 8. Seems to be about on average. I mean, that was a quicker lap time there, wasn't it? 37.3. With Jack, I mean, Jack was in the wars a bit more. He was fighting a bit more, like Ollie Bearman. So some of these lap times are like they jump up to being like a second slower than Gasly at certain times on certain laps. And I think that's where he was going. He was fighting with Hadjar and fighting with Bearman. But where they're kind of like good runs, I think he's very inconsistent is what I'm looking at here today. He's just, which you'd expect from a rookie, but he has a lot of laps here where he is on the same pace. But it's very inconsistent. Like, I don't see a lot of consistency here. It's very, like, there's too many fluctuations. That could be obviously with him fighting, definitely. But there's more so than that. There weren't that many laps that he was fighting for positions. So, odds on Lawson being demoted to Racing Bulls in the first 5 races. I don't know. He needs to do some work on his quali pace. Simple as. From what I'm looking at here, I think his race pace, there's positives to be taken. But if he qualified in the top 10, I think he has the race pace to compete with Antonelli. Potentially maybe push some of the Ferraris from what we saw lap times today. There's definitely positives there for Lawson, but he needs to be starting in Q3. In the top 10. He cannot be starting in the down last. They can't be starting down in the bottom 5. And he needs to sort out and get a handle of that car, or Red Bull need to make that car a bit more suitable for him on low in quali mode, in quali trim. So no, I'm not on the Missed Apex podcast this time, Mark. No, I don't know who's on it this week. No, I'm not on it. I don't know when I'll be on the next one, to be honest with you. He's moved it down to just the 3 of them now. So one panelist, one guest panelist each week, which is fine, or each race review. But yeah, I'll still be appearing on like midweek shows and stuff, but I won't be on as many race reviews. Red Bull knows the car is twitchy as F and keep Liam in the car. I think so. They're going to give him time for sure. But I think there's positives for his race pace, especially at a dry circuit that we saw here this weekend. At a circuit he's not familiar with as well. Never raced at Albert Park before. He's never raced at Shanghai before. So there's still that element to be taken into consideration as well. So I think there's positives there for his race pace. Quali, though, a lot of work needs to be done because that car's just too twitchy. So, But yeah, shout out. You love the Missed Apex podcast. Yeah, they're a good bunch of guys. I'm so glad I'm a part of it. So, but there we go, guys. That is it. That is it. I think that's it from me. What is the time? 9:30. I am going. I need to prep. Hang on. While there's still a number of you here in the channel, bear with me. I want your guys' driver ratings. So, bear with me just a second. Can I copy this? Right. Chinese GP driver ratings. Apologies, they're in a complete different order here. Hang on, bear with me. No, my pleasure, Mark. Hope you're recovering well, mate. Suzuka should be nice for Liam. Yeah, great pilots in RB destroyed their careers, manipulated by Marco. I mean, they definitely have thrown. They're not. Make. Oh, hang on. Cancel. There we go. Yeah, make a copy. Make a copy. Chinese GP. Why is the cat trying to jump in? The cat's jumping up at the handle of the door. Give me a second. Right, just be sure to look at the names, guys, because it's not in finishing order of where they finished. So, right. Oh, shit. What the hell's going on here? Oh, no, what's going on? What do you mean the form's unpublished? Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to sort this out. What is going on here? Publish. Yeah, there we go. Just publish. There you go, guys. Go there and check that form out and give me your driver ratings. Please check the names because obviously they're not in finishing order. So, yeah. But just give me your 1 to 10 of drivers, and I can do driver ratings later on today. But yeah, I think that's it from me. I think that is going to be it. I am going to now go have some breakfast. Feels like I should be having lunch. Surely there's 5 of you here who have yet to hit that subscribe button, guys. Surely there's 5 of you. But yeah, Max Verstappen just reported there that he did what he could with the car. He just tried to run their own race, and the Ferrari ended up coming back to them. But yeah, they just asked Max Verstappen actually, oh, how long will you be staying around at the team and helping them out to develop this car if it stays like this? And they're like, he was like, yeah, I get asked this all the time. Lead me to it. Let me go to community posts and make a post so that people can do that there as well. But yes, guys, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I think ridiculous figures that we hit today. 15,000 viewers peak. I don't know what the average was, but I think it was obviously a higher average. Over 150,000 individual views. These streams are getting bigger and better, and yeah, I appreciate everyone who just continues to keep tuning into these watch-alongs. If you haven't subscribed yet, as I keep mentioning, it really does help the channel and help me bring me closer to providing even more content for you on the regular, because I can do this full time. Might take a week off sick and practice for Suzuka iRacing to beat me. I'll see you there, man. I'll see you there. But yeah, what a weekend. We had the highlight of Lewis Hamilton winning his first race in a Ferrari. That was, I guess, the exciting moment of the weekend. The race itself, I think, was a bit of a damp squib, ruined by that hard compound tyre just lasting for too long. But Oscar Piastri answered some critics. He answered some questions. Could he manage a race in a high deg scenario? And, well, while the hard compound tyre didn't degrade as much as we thought, he did control the race well from the front on the medium compound tyre, and he did he did the job. He did the job. He kept his teammate at bay. and he's put the demons, the gremlins to bed that happened at Albert Park in Australia last week. So yes, McLaren definitely the fastest car. They are the car to beat, but they're not unbeatable. I think that McLaren in dirty air, its track position in qualifying is going to be key, and we need to see whether or not the teams are going to take the approach of just trying to get ahead of the McLarens, and just they're able to keep the McLarens behind them if they're in dirty air. I think if you allow the McLarens to get on pole and get away from the rest of the, well, just basically have the rest of the field behind them in their rearview mirrors, they'll drive away in the distance at the moment. But if they're in dirty air, as we saw in the sprint race, they struggle. It's not as easy for them. So what do the teams decide to do in their approach to qualifying? Qualifying is, we said it at the start of the season, it's so much more important than it's ever been in, I think, the history of F1. And these are the reasons why, because of how close it is and because how important track position is with like the dirty air and so forth. So yeah, McLaren clearly the fastest car in clean air, but you get them in dirty air, they struggle a lot more, just like the others. So yeah, we've got 2 weeks now until Suzuka. I'm looking forward to getting some sleep next weekend. It is Mother's Day here in the UK. My first Mother's Day with the missus. So yeah, I need to get brainstorming and think about some nice things to do. But yeah, have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys. Answer in that document, fill it out, your driver ratings. I will be getting the driver ratings video up later on this evening for you all. It won't be 4 days after the race happens like in Australia, and yeah, we'll go from there. So have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys. No access to dock? What? Go to site. Why is there no access to dock? Hang on. Can anyone access the dock or not? Or is it locked? Is it locked? Let me try again. Hang on. Oh, editor, responder views restricted. Anyone with this link. Hang on. Doing it now. Doing it now. Doing it now. Try that now. Try that now. Try that one. That should be okay because it said locked. Anything? Is it okay? No access to... Is it still no access? You can access it. Cool. Yeah, just make sure you check the names, and because it's not in race order. So, yeah, of where they finished. And just go through there. But yeah, the more responses, the better, really, because it gives us a good indication of where you all think they are. But Liam, actually, hang on. Just before I do go, Liam Nelson told that they made quite an aggressive change on the setup today. Hang on. Okay, that was basically it. So, anyway, thank you guys. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Yes, thank you for tuning in as always. 2 more subscribers till we hit 37,800. Yeah, been an amazing weekend once again. We wait for Suzuka. I'll be keeping some content coming for you, of course. And yeah, we'll go from there. Have a lovely rest of your day, guys. Thank you as always. Bye.